Let's go.
Knowledge without action is just expensive entertainment, and honey, you have had enough expensive entertainment in your life. First, if you want to stop being poor and start building wealth, you need to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Every week, I share strategies that help you think like the wealthy instead of like the broke. This channel is your MBA in millionaire mindset, and tuition is free. Second, give this video a thumbs up if you are serious about changing your financial future. The algorithm needs to know that you are ready to level up, not just window shopping for financial advice you will never implement. Third, I have left several links in the first pinned comment to products that rich people use. These are not random affiliate links. These are carefully curated tools that will help you build wealth faster. Rich people do not waste time researching every little thing. They buy quality tools and get to work. Fourth, here is your homework. And yes, I am giving you homework because this is not an entertainment channel. This is a wealth building bootcamp. Go through each of these 8 mistakes and honestly assess which ones apply to you. Write them down. Be brutally honest with yourself because lying to yourself is what got you here in the first place. Then create a specific plan to address each one. Do not.
Oh shit, I clicked on the link. I didn't know it was going to take me here. Luxury was created to keep you poor. Oh, okay. You want to resume? Oh, we in a playlist.
These are not random affiliate links. These are carefully curated tools that will help you build wealth faster. Rich people do not waste time researching every little thing. They buy quality tools and get to work. Fourth, here is your homework. And yes, I am giving you homework because this is not an entertainment channel. This is a wealth building bootcamp. Go through each of these 8 mistakes and honestly assess which ones apply to you. Write them down. Be brutally honest with yourself because lying to yourself is what got you here in the first place. Then create a specific plan to address each one. Do not try to fix everything at once because that is how people fail. Commit to addressing 1 mistake per month. If you are making all 8 mistakes, it will take you 8 months to fix your financial life. That might seem like a long time, but it beats spending the next 8 years making the same mistakes. Start with the mistake that is costing you the most money right now. If you are paying 24% interest on credit card debt, that should be your priority. If you are spending too much on housing, start looking for a cheaper place. If you are an impulse shopper, cut up your credit cards today. Remember, the goal is not to stay comfortable in your current financial situation. Comfort is what keeps poor people poor. The goal is to become so financially secure that money is never a source of stress again. The goal is to have options, to have freedom, to have the ability to say no to anything that does not serve your highest good. But here is what I need you to understand. Changing your financial life requires changing your identity. You cannot keep thinking like a poor person and expect to become rich. You need to start thinking like someone who has money, even before you have money. Rich people do not make financial decisions based on emotion. They do not buy things to feel better. They do not lend money to family members who are financially irresponsible. They do not compare themselves to other people on social media. They focus on their goals. They educate themselves constantly, and they make decisions that their future self will thank them for. The harsh truth about being poor. Let me leave you with this final thought, and I want you to really hear this because it might be the most important thing I say in this entire video. Being poor is expensive. Poor people pay more for everything because they cannot afford to buy quality items that last. They pay interest on credit cards. They pay fees for being broke. They pay rent instead of building equity. They pay for expensive car repairs because they cannot afford reliable vehicles. Being poor means paying $5 for a money order instead of having free checking. Being poor means paying late fees because you do not have enough money in your account when bills are due. Being poor means buying cheap shoes that fall apart in 6 months instead of quality shoes that last for years. Poor people shop at stores that charge more because they do not have transportation to better stores. They cannot buy in bulk to save money because they do not have storage space or upfront cash. They cannot take advantage of sales because they do not have disposable income. Being poor means you cannot invest in opportunities when they arise. You cannot help your children with college. You cannot take care of your parents when they get older. You cannot retire with dignity. Being poor limits every single choice you make for the rest of your life. But being rich, on the other hand, is like having a permanent discount on life. When you have money, you can buy quality items on sale and use them for years. You can pay cash and negotiate better deals. You can invest money and watch it grow instead of watching it disappear to fees and interest. Rich people get better interest rates on mortgages. They get better insurance rates. They get access to investment opportunities that poor people never even hear about. They can afford financial advisors, tax professionals, and lawyers who save them money in the long run. When you have money, you have time. You do not spend hours comparing prices or looking for deals. You do not waste time on public transportation or waiting in line for government services. You do not stress about money, which means you can focus on more important things like family, health, and personal growth. The choice is yours, and it really...
Y'all know something? I had a dream, and it was like, I was like I don't know where I was at exactly, but I was in front of this woman handling money or cash and something, but I had money in my hand. And it was some white lady there. She was like, she looked like the lady that was at my job. She was like, well, money can't buy you happiness. I was like, nah, it can. Yes, it can. And I just kept counting my money. Yeah, I thought about that dream.
Really is that simple. You can keep making these 8 mistakes and stay exactly where you are financially, or you can face reality, make changes, and start building the wealth you deserve. But the clock is ticking, honey. Every day you wait is another day you fall further behind. I am not here to coddle you or make you feel better about your financial situation. I am here to tell you the truth, even when it hurts. The truth is that your financial problems are probably your own fault. The truth is that you have more control over your financial future than you think. You will not pay your bills or build your wealth. Money builds character. But here is what I also want you to know. I believe in you. I believe that you can change your financial situation if you are willing to do the work. I believe that you can stop making these mistakes and start making decisions that your future self will thank you for. When I look back at my own journey, I remember feeling overwhelmed by all the things I needed to change. But I started with one small step, then another, then another. I stopped trying to look rich and started trying to become rich. I stopped comparing myself to other people and started focusing on my own goals. Most importantly, I stopped making excuses and started taking responsibility for my financial future. Because here is what wealthy people understand that poor people do not. Your current financial situation is not permanent unless you choose to make it permanent. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are not powerless. You are not destined to be poor forever. But you also are not going to become rich by accident. Wealth building requires intention, discipline, and consistency. It requires making choices that other people will not make so you can have a life that other people cannot have. Comment below with this phrase if you enjoyed this video. Money builds character. I want to see how many of you are ready to take your finances seriously, instead of just dreaming about being rich while making poor people decisions. Do not forget to subscribe if you want to learn how to be rich instead of just playing dress up with fake designer bags. Hit that notification bell so you never miss my latest wealth building strategies, because I drop financial gems every single week. And remember, darling, I am not just teaching you about money. I am teaching you about power. Money is power. Money is freedom. Money is options. Money is the difference between living life on your own terms and living life according to other people's rules. Until next time, remember, the easiest way to get rich is to be born rich or marry a millionaire. If you're not that lucky, like me, you have to create your own wealth. I love being rich, and I think you should try it too. But trying it means actually doing the work, not just watching videos about doing the work. Stop being a financial tourist and start being a wealth builder. Stop making excuses and start making money. Stop waiting for someone to save you and start saving yourself. Stay fabulous, stay focused, and most importantly, stay wealthy-minded even when your bank account does not reflect it yet. This is Duchess. Dollars.
Let's go. Broke habit. Oh, she got this one.
You know what is absolutely
with it.
fascinating? 25% of Americans have poor financial literacy. Yet they will spend hours debating why they cannot afford a $5 coffee, while simultaneously financing a $70,000 car they cannot afford. Meanwhile, Americans' total credit card balance just hit $1.182 trillion as of the first quarter of 2025. That is trillion with a T, darling. I am Duchess Dollars, and today we are exposing the 7 most obvious wealth building secrets that poor people love to ignore, then have the audacity to blame capitalism when their bank account looks like my last relationship, completely empty. But before we dive into these revelations that will make you feel personally attacked, let me tell you something that will blow your mind. The percentage of U.S. adults with poor financial literacy increased from 20% in 2017 to 25% in 2023. That means we are getting worse at understanding money, not better. Meanwhile, 48% of credit card holders carry a balance from month to month, and 60% of those with credit card debt believe factors beyond their control caused it. Really? Beyond your control? Was someone holding a gun to your head at Target? Number 1, they refuse to track their money. Let me paint you a picture that will make you uncomfortable. Only 50 Americans demonstrated basic financial literacy in a 2024 survey. That means half of you do not even know where your money goes each month. You treat your finances like a mystery novel where the butler did it, except the butler is your terrible spending habits and the victim is your future self. A daily $5 coffee habit represents over $1,800 annually. But here is what rich people understand that you do not. We do not just track our coffee, we track everything. When Mr. Millionaire bought his first yacht, he knew exactly how much he spent on champagne that month because tracking money is not about deprivation. It is about power. Poor people say they do not have time to track expenses. Really? You have time to scroll through TikTok for 3 hours, but not 10 minutes to see where your money went? That is not a time problem. That is a priority problem. Rich people track money like we track our skincare routine, religiously and with purpose. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Tom Corley spent 5 years studying the daily activities of 233 wealthy people and 128 people living in poverty. He discovered there is a difference the size of the Grand Canyon between the daily habits of the wealthy and the poor. 81% of wealthy people maintain a to-do list versus 19% for poor people. This is not rocket science, yet somehow poor people act like organization is optional. Number 2, they think budgets are restrictive instead of liberating. Here's something that will shock you. Wealthy people save 20% of their net income and live on the remaining 80%. Meanwhile, poor people think budgeting is like wearing a financial corset that restricts their breathing. Sweetheart, budgets are not prisons. They are permission slips to spend guilt-free. When I created my first budget, it was not to punish myself. It was to give myself permission to buy that Hermes bag without feeling guilty. A budget tells your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Among those who are struggling financially, almost all are living above means. They spend more than they earn.
Hold on. It said that the rich people had a to-do list. Did I hear that properly? Hold on. Wait. I thought that was pretty goddamn normal. Okay, wait a minute. Let's go back.
That restricts their breathing.
Sweetheart,
budgets are not prisons. They are permission slips to spend guilt-free. When I created my first budget, it was not to punish myself. It was to give myself permission to buy that Hermes bag without feeling guilty. A budget tells your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Among those who are struggling financially, almost all are living above their means. They spend more than they earn and then wonder why their credit cards are maxed out at an average interest rate of 24.28%, the highest since December. They're not prisons. They are permission slips to spend guilt-free. 133 wealthy people and 128 people living in poverty. He discovered there is a difference the size of the Grand Canyon between the daily habits of the wealthy and the poor. 81% of wealthy people maintain a to-do list versus 19%.
81% of wealthy people maintain a to-do list versus 19% of people who don't. Oh shit.
% for poor people. This is not rocket science. Yet somehow poor people act like organization is optional. Number 2, they think budgets are restrictive instead of liberating. Here is something that will shock you. Wealthy people save 20% of their net income and live on the remaining 8%. Meanwhile, poor people think budgeting is like wearing a financial corset that restricts their breathing. Sweetheart, budgets are not prisons. They are permission slips to spend guilt-free. When I created my first budget, it was not to punish myself. It was to give myself permission to buy that Hermès bag without feeling guilty. A budget tells your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Among those who are struggling financially, almost all are living above their means. They spend more than they earn and then wonder why their credit cards are maxed out at an average interest rate of 24.28%, the highest since December. Let me break this down for you like you are 5 years old. If you make $4,000 a month and spend $4,050, you are not living. You are slowly drowning in designer debt. But if you make $4,000 and spend $3,000, congratulations, you just discovered the secret to wealth that apparently 25% of Americans missed in financial literacy class. Number 3, they confuse assets with liabilities. This one makes me laugh harder than watching someone try to pronounce Hermès wrong at the boutique. Rich build assets while poor buy liabilities that they think are assets. Your car that loses value the moment you drive a lot? That is not an asset. That is an expensive mistake with monthly payments. I have a friend who makes $80,000 a year and drives a $60,000 because he thinks it makes him look successful. Meanwhile, I make more than that in a month and drive whatever car Mr. Millionaire buys me because I understand that cars are tools, not statements about my masculinity. 90% of millionaires drive cars that cost less than $75,000, and 86% of people who drive traditional prestigious brands are not millionaires. Real assets put money in your pocket. Stocks, real estate, businesses, royalties from that book you will never write. These things make you money while you sleep. Your designer handbag collection, unless you are renting them out on bag, borrow, or steal, they are expensive closet decorations. Here is what kills me. Poor people will finance everything. They finance cars, furniture, vacations, sometimes even groceries on credit cards. Rich people finance appreciating assets like real estate and business equipment. We use debt to make money, not to pretend we have money. The wealthy understand that good debt builds wealth while bad destroys it. Number 4, they have no emergency fund. The ideal emergency fund contains 3 to 9 months worth of essential expenses. But let me tell you what really happens. Poor people think an emergency fund is what you use when you see shoes on sale. No, sweetheart, that is called impulse buying. And it is why you are reading this instead of living this. It is expensive to be poor in America, and an emergency fund is a strong barrier between you and disaster. When you do not have emergency savings, every little financial hiccup becomes a major crisis. Your car breaks down? Credit card. Medical? Bill? Credit card. Want to look rich on Instagram? Credit card. Nearly 2 in 3 Americans with debt are actually delaying or avoiding financial decisions because of their credit card debt. Meanwhile, when my car breaks down, I call my mechanic, pay cash, and move on with my day. When Mr. Millionaire's yacht needs maintenance, we do not stress about the cost because we planned for it. The goal is $1,000 for your emergency fund if you are starting out. $1,000. That is less than some people spend on their monthly shopping hauls. But here's the tea. Most people do not want an emergency fund because having money sitting there earning 2% interest feels boring compared to buying things that make them feel temporarily wealthy. They want instant gratification over long-term security, which is exactly why they stay poor. 47% of Americans with credit card debt say their debt comes from emergency or unexpected expenses. But if you had an actual emergency fund, those would not become debt. Number 5, they never invest because they think they need to be rich. First, this is my favorite delusion that poor people cling to like a security blanket. I will start investing when I make more money. Financial literacy is linked to borrowing, saving, and spending patterns, and financially literate people understand that you do not need to be rich to start investing. You invest to become rich. Today's investment landscape has democratized access, with many platforms allowing investments starting at just a few dollars. Literally start investing with the money you spend on one fancy lunch. But poor people act like the stock market is some exclusive country club where you need $1 million just to walk through the door. I started investing when I was broke and fabulous, not rich and fabulous. The difference is that I understood compound interest works like interest. On gossip, it grows exponentially over time. Small changes like budgeting, investing, or thinking long-term add up over time and create momentum. Here is what really happens. Poor people research investments for months, read every blog, watch every YouTube video, and then do nothing because they are waiting for the perfect time. Rich people research for a week, start investing, and learn by doing. We understand that time in the market beats timing the market. 86% of wealthy individuals work more than 50 hours a week. and they are not spending that time researching the perfect investment. They are building their wealth. Number 6, they avoid learning about money. Most wealthy individuals daily for education and self-improvement, compared to a tiny fraction of financially struggling individuals. While poor people are binge-watching Netflix, rich people are consuming financial education like it is oxygen. The average American consumes several hours of TV daily, while the average millionaire watches significantly less. But here is what is really wild. Poor people will spend hours researching which phone to buy, but will not spend 10 minutes learning about compound interest. I read financial books like I shop for shoes, frequently and with purpose. When I was building my wealth before I met Mr. Millionaire, I would listen to financial podcasts while getting my weekly massage. You can learn about money while doing literally anything else, but poor people act like financial education is homework they can skip. The funniest part? They have opinions about rich people and the economy, but have never read a single book about either topic. It is like having strong opinions about brain surgery when you failed high school biology. Number 7, they blame everything except their choices. This is where we separate the future rich from the permanently poor. Those who struggle financially stop short when things get difficult, while successful people persist through challenges. Poor people have a PhD in excuses and a kindergarten education in personal responsibility. The system is rigged. Rich people are lucky. I was not born into money. Listen, darling, I get it. Life is not fair, and some people definitely have advantages. But you know what is also not fair? Using your circumstances as an excuse to stay exactly where you are. Almost 4 out of 5 wealthy people attribute their success in life to their beliefs. They believe they deserve wealth, they believe they can create wealth, and they believe their choices matter more than their circumstances. 80% of wealthy people are focused on accomplishing some single goal, while only 12% of poor people do this. Poor people blame inflation, the government,
Your
their
choices matter.
boss, their parents.
Your choices matter more than your circumstance. Your choices matter more than your circumstance. See? You make the choice. You make the choice to learn the laws of money. You make the choice to get smarter about your money. You make the choice to invest into yourself. You make the choice to educate yourself more, whatever field of education you need. Educate yourself about money more, get yourself financial literacy. You make a choice. You know, eat from the rich, eat the rich. And yeah, this all comes down to level of intelligence. I totally agree. I want to be offended. I want my feelings hurt every time I listen to this, because that's the very thing that's going to push me to get more serious about my money, not play about my money, protect my money, love my money, show a lot more passion to my money, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to make me have a better relationship with money.
Parents, their education, their city, their age, and their astrological sign before they look in the mirror and ask, what am I doing wrong?
Nope.
They treat wealth building like a spectator sport where they complain about the game instead of learning to play. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Every wealthy person you know made a series of smart financial decisions over time. Every poor person you know made a series of poor financial decisions over time. The difference is not luck, it is choices. 96% of those struggling financially associate with other struggling people, while 86% of wealthy people associate with other successful people. You become who you spend time with. The real tea about getting rich. Let me tell you something that might hurt your feelings, but could change your life. The daily money decisions and behaviors of the rich diverge significantly from those of the poor, and these habits compound over time to lead to vastly different financial outcomes. Being rich is not about making one perfect decision. It is about making consistently good decisions over time. It is about choosing to track your money when you would rather ignore it. It is about choosing to invest when you would rather spend. It is about choosing to learn when you would rather be entertained. The 7 things we discussed today are not advanced strategies that require a finance degree. They are basic principles that 80% of Americans believe they would be better off if they learned more about personal finance in high school. The information is available, the tools are accessible, and the opportunity is there. But Here's what separates the millionaires from the wannabes. 76% of wealthy people exercise aerobically 4 days a week compared to 23% of poor people. They understand that health is wealth. 70% of wealthy people eat less than 300 junk food calories per day, while 97% of poor people eat more than 300. Even their daily habits around food and fitness reflect their commitment to long-term success over short-term pleasure. The only question is, will you keep making excuses, or will you start making money moves? And speaking of money moves, I only gamble when the prize is a millionaire husband or private island. Otherwise, I prefer to bet on myself through smart investments and compound interest. The only lottery ticket I need is my investment portfolio growing 20% annually. 23% of wealthy people gamble compared to 52% of poor people. You see the pattern? Poor people bet on luck. Rich people bet on themselves. If this video opened your eyes wider than a Botox appointment, smash that like button and subscribe to this channel if you want to learn how to be rich instead of just being rich on social media. I left several links to millionaire-worthy products in the first pinned comment because your shopping cart should reflect your aspirations, not your current bank balance. Comment with the phrase, money moves only, if you are ready to stop making excuses and start making wealth. And remember, being single is not a reason to be sad. Being poor is. Now go handle your money like the future millionaire you are destined to become. Class dismissed.
Nice.
Listen here, darling. 42% of Americans do not have an emergency fund, and 59% cannot cover a $1,000 emergency expense. Meanwhile, I am sitting here in my silk Versace robe sipping champagne that costs more than most people make in a week. But honey, I was not always this glamorous. Before I mastered the art of marrying Mr. Millionaire and became the financial goddess you see today, I had to crawl my way out of being broke, just like you probably are right now. The difference between you and me? I learned the game early. While other girls were worrying about their student loans, I was studying the blueprint that every rich person follows, but nobody talks about. And today, I am going to spill every single secret that transformed me from a basic girl with an empty bank account to the woman who considers a shopping spree at Tiffany essential self-care. But first, let me tell you what I am not going to do. I am not going to tell you to start a casino gambling addiction thinking that is your ticket to wealth. 2 million American adults meet severe gambling criteria, and 86% of sports betting revenue comes from just 5% of players. Gambling is for people who still believe in fairy tales, darling. I only play games where I know I am going to win, and that game is called strategic wealth building. Building wealth involves earning, saving, investing, and protecting your assets, while managing debt. Sounds boring, right? Wrong. This is the sexiest thing you will ever learn because money is the ultimate aphrodisiac. When you understand how to make money work for you instead of working for money, you become magnetic. Rich energy attracts rich people, and rich people attract opportunities. Here is what nobody told you about starting from zero. The biggest mistake broke people make is thinking they need to make more money first. No, sweetie. You need to fix your money mindset first.
No.
When I was struggling, paying loans to the bank that were being deducted directly from my pathetic salary, I thought, my problem was not having enough income. But the real problem was that I had zero financial structure. Most financial advisors recommend saving 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. But when you are living paycheck to paycheck, that sounds impossible. I get it. But here is the thing about impossible. It is just another word for you have not figured out the system yet. And the system, my dear, is surprisingly simple once you understand the hierarchy of wealth building. Think of your finances like a beautiful pyramid. At the bottom, you have your income flowing in like champagne at a yacht party. But if you have no structure to catch that champagne, it just spills everywhere and you end up with nothing but a sticky mess and a hangover. That spillage is your expenses eating up every single dollar before you can even think about building wealth. The first step is not about making more money, though we will get to that because I absolutely believe in making obscene amounts of money. The first step is creating a dam between your income and your expenses. The ideal is that your savings should be at least 20 to 30% of your income. I know what you are thinking. Duchess, I can barely save $20, let alone 20%. But stay with me, because I am about to show you exactly how to make this happen. Here's what I learned when I was broke that changed everything. Your expenses come in 2 flavors, fixed and variable. Fixed expenses are your rent, your insurance, your minimum debt payments, the things that stay the same every month. Variable expenses are where you are bleeding money without even realizing it. That daily Starbucks, those random Amazon purchases, the subscriptions you forgot you signed up for. This is where your wealth is disappearing. High interest debt is a guaranteed drain on your financial resources. When I was paying interest on credit cards while trying to build wealth, it was like trying to fill a bathtub with the drain open. You can pour all the water you want, but you will never get ahead. So the first rule of wealth building is this: eliminate high interest debt like you are eliminating toxic people from your life. Be ruthless about it. But here is where it gets interesting. Once you stop the bleeding, you need to start building your foundation.
Hold on, y'all. I gotta refresh y'all over here in the studio. Don't know what happened. Y'all just disappeared. 1 second. Ready? I probably needed to refresh anyway, because a lot of times y'all be saying that y'all can't hear what I be doing. Okay, hold on. She also talks about luxury was used to keep people broke. And I just said about me wanting a luxury apartment, right? Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Is it up here? Let's see.
Emergency funds prevent financial setbacks from derailing your long-term goals. Think of an emergency fund as your screw you money. It is the money that lets you walk away from a bad job, a bad relationship, or a bad situation without having to compromise your standards. The median emergency fund balance is $10,000, but do not let that intimidate you. Start with $1,000. I know it sounds like nothing, but $1,000 is the difference between a crisis and an inconvenience. When your car breaks down and you have that money sitting in your account, you do not panic. You just fix it and move on with your fabulous life. Now, here is where most financial advice gets boring, but I am going to make it sexy. Automation is one of the simplest, yet most effective ways to build wealth. Set up automatic transfers like you are setting up automatic deliveries of your favorite champagne. Every time money hits your account, a portion goes directly to your emergency fund before you can spend it on something ridiculous. But let me be clear about something. While you are building this foundation, you also need to be working on increasing your income. The first step to attaining wealth for people who are not born into it is changing your mindset. Stop thinking like someone who is grateful for scraps and start thinking like someone who deserves abundance. Investing in yourself through education and self-improvement can open doors to new economic opportunities. This does not mean you need to go back to school and accumulate more debt. This means learning skills that pay. Learn sales, learn marketing, learn how to present yourself like the wealthy woman you are becoming. Rich people pay attention to other rich people, not because they are shallow, but because energy recognizes energy. Here is something fascinating about wealth building that nobody talks about. Diversifying across asset classes and leveraging tax-efficient investment vehicles are essential strategies. But before you can invest in stocks and real estate, you need to invest in looking and feeling like someone who belongs in those spaces. When I started going to country clubs to network, I made sure I looked like I belonged there. Fake it until you make it is not just a saying, it is a strategy. Speaking of strategy, let me tell you about the wealth building hierarchy that rich people follow religiously. First, you fix your cash flow, so money is not disappearing into thin air. Second, you build your emergency fund so you have options instead of desperation. Third, you start investing in assets that appreciate over time. Assets should fatten your wallet while liabilities bleed it dry. But here is the part that gets really exciting. Once you have your foundation solid, compound growth allows you to benefit from market growth over time. Einstein called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world, and honey, he was not wrong. When your money starts making money, you officially join the ranks of people who understand how the wealthy stay wealthy. Tax planning becomes increasingly important as your income grows. This is where you start playing the same game as millionaires. You maximize contributions to tax-advantaged accounts, you understand tax loss harvesting, you make your money work as efficiently as possible. The government wants to take your money, but there are legal ways to keep more of what you earn. Now, let me address something important about gambling and get-rich-quick schemes. Problem gamblers lose a median of $16,750 per year. If you want to throw money away, at least buy a designer handbag. At least you will have something beautiful to show for it. The only casino I frequent is Monte Carlo, and even then, I play with money I can afford to lose while wearing a Dior gown. Because if you are going to lose money, you might as well lose it with style. The truth about building wealth from zero is that it requires discipline, strategy, and patience. 3 things that our instant gratification society does not want to hear. But consistency and discipline are the cornerstones of effective wealth building. Every wealthy person I know follows the same basic principles. They spend less than they earn, they invest the difference in appreciating assets, and they protect their wealth from taxes and inflation. Building wealth is not about what you do. In just 1 year, it is about sticking to a disciplined plan year after year. This is not a sprint, darling. This is a marathon run in designer shoes. You start with fixing your money management, you build your emergency fund, you eliminate debt, and then you start investing in your future self. The most important thing I learned is that wealth building is not just about the money. It is about becoming the type of person who attracts and keeps wealth. When you understand money, when you respect money, when you make smart decisions with money, you develop an energy that wealthy people recognize. That recognition opens doors that you never even knew existed. If you want to stop being part of the statistic of Americans who cannot handle a financial emergency, if you want to learn how to build real wealth instead of playing financial dress-up with fake designer bags, then you need to subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. I am going to teach you everything the rich know but never share. Leave me a comment if you enjoyed this video and tell me, Building Wealth Blueprint Unlocked. And make sure you check the first pinned comment where I have left links to products that every rich woman needs to elevate her lifestyle. Remember, wealth is not just about the destination. It is about becoming the type of woman who deserves to arrive there in style. Now stop making excuses and start building your empire, because poverty is a choice and you deserve so much better than that. So
that was beautiful. Okay. That one was absolutely beautiful. This whole playlist should be saved, actually. Let me go ahead and save this playlist to my library. This is something we should listen to very often over here. Let's go ahead and get to the next video. That one was beautiful. Let me go ahead and save this in the Level Up Life playlist.
Here I am wearing my $30,000 Hermes dress while my pet Chanel is getting her nails done by a professional man. Know what struck me? Most women are making the same 5 devastating mistakes that keep them broke forever, while a select few of us are making completely different decisions that build generational wealth. You see that woman at Starbucks complaining about her $5 latte being expensive? She is making decision number 1 that keeps her poor. Meanwhile, Alice Walton just became the richest woman in the world with over $100 billion in net worth this year. And you know what she does not worry about? $5 lattes. But here is what she does that most women refuse to do. Let me tell you something about wealth that nobody wants to admit. Being rich is not an accident. It is a series of strategic decisions that separate the Duchess dollars of this world from the women who will spend their entire lives checking their bank account balance before buying groceries. The difference between me sipping champagne on my yacht in Monaco and you calculating whether you can afford that monthly subscription is exactly 5 decisions. Now, before I reveal these 5 wealth-building secrets that transformed me from a regular girl to someone who considers shopping at Bergdorf Goodman a casual Tuesday activity, let me ask you this. Are you tired of being the friend who always has to check her budget before saying yes to plans? Because if you want to finally stop making excuses about money and start making millions instead, you better hit that subscribe button and that notification bell right now. The first decision that separates us wealthy women from everyone else is this. We stopped believing that hard work alone creates wealth. You can work 80 hours a week at your corporate job, get all the promotions, be Employee of the Month every single month, and you will still be closer to poverty than to the Forbes list. Alice Walton never worked a single day at Walmart, yet she is worth more than most CEOs who kill themselves working. Françoise Bettencourt-Meyers inherited L'Oreal and is worth over $80 billion. She did not climb any corporate ladder. Here is what financial experts discovered in 2025. 91% of women investors feel empowered when managing their investments, but only 19% of them frequently discuss financial information. That means most. Women are making money decisions in complete isolation, while the wealthy women are building networks that multiply their opportunities. The wealthy woman's first decision is simple. She chooses assets over income. While you are asking for a raise, I am buying shares in the company. While you are celebrating your annual bonus, I am purchasing real estate that generates monthly cash flow. My Mr. Millionaire taught me this when he said, "Duchess, employees work for money, but money works for the wealthy." Look at the data from JP Morgan's 2025 Wealth Report. The most successful investors focus on long-term asset accumulation rather than short-term income maximization. They found that strategic wealth planning helps ensure readiness for potential tax changes and new opportunities. Meanwhile, broke women are still thinking paycheck to paycheck. But here's what nobody tells you about building wealth. Emotional spending is the silent killer of financial dreams. That brings us to decision number 2 that every ex-fool must make. The second decision that transforms broke women into wealthy women is mastering the psychology of money. Most women make financial decisions based on emotions, not strategy. They buy that designer handbag because they had a bad day at work. They take expensive vacations they cannot afford because they deserve it. They lease luxury cars to look successful while remaining broke. Charles Schwab's 2025 Women Investors Survey revealed something fascinating. The 3 biggest investing lessons women learned were starting early, diversifying investments, and understanding that timing the market is impossible. But here is the part that will shock you. 58% of women say investing intimidates them, compared to only 45% of men. This is where the wealthy woman's mindset becomes crucial. When I see a $1,000 dress, I do not think about how pretty it is. I think about how many shares of dividend-paying stocks that $1,000 could buy. Those stocks would pay me money every quarter for the rest of my life. That dress will be out of style in 6 months. My wealthy friends and I play a different game entirely. We understand what Morgan Housel wrote in The Psychology of Money. Wealth is what you do not see. Flash cars and designer handbags do not equal financial security. True wealth is built by saving and investing, not spending. Here is a perfect example. While Taylor Swift became a billionaire through strategic business decisions and owning her masters, millions of women spent their money buying her concert tickets and merchandise. One woman built wealth. The others consumed it. The difference was not talent or luck. It was decision-making. The wealthy woman's second decision is this. She delays gratification for long-term gain. She buys assets that appreciate while others buy liabilities that depreciate. She invests in education, networks, and opportunities while others invest in temporary pleasure. But understanding money psychology is useless without decision number 3, which is the most controversial thing I will say in this video. The third decision that
Before we get to number 3, I have a situation where everything is going to be off, right? My phone's going to be off, my internet's going to be off, and I was just going to let it happen. Literally, I was going to let it happen, right? And of course, Babe was like, I'll pay the phone bill, right? But what it had made me see and why I had to have that moment, it made me realize, like, I have to, when I can admit this, I have to do a lot of unsubscribing. I mean, a lot of unsubscribing. And really start contemplating on the best options for myself. And I remember I told my brother, I said, I don't even give a damn when all this stuff turned off because I need a break. I just need to sit with myself for a little while. And I meant that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Every wealthy woman makes is strategically choosing her environment and relationships. I am not talking about being superficial. I am talking about understanding that your network determines your net worth. And most women are surrounding themselves with financial mediocrity. If your girlfriend's biggest financial conversations revolve around coupon codes and sale notifications, you are in the wrong circle. If your social media feed is full of people complaining about gas prices and grocery costs, you are consuming the wrong content. If your romantic relationships involve splitting every dinner bill and arguing about money, you are choosing the wrong partners. Here is what the McKinsey 2025 report on female wealth revealed. Women are expected to control over $30 trillion by 2030. But here's the part they do not emphasize enough. The women who will control this wealth are not the ones having budget meetings about whether they can afford avocado toast. Look at the data from wealth management firms. They found that successful women often have what they call household-based approaches to wealth building. Translation: they choose partners who enhance their financial position, not drain it. They build relationships with other ambitious people who challenge them to think bigger, not smaller. My wealthy friends and I never discuss whether we can afford something. We discuss whether it is a smart investment. We do not split restaurant bills because we are not dating men who cannot afford to pay. We do not buy fake designer bags because we would rather save up for real assets that appreciate in value. The third decision is about environment design. Wealthy women place themselves in environments where wealth building is normal, not exceptional. They join country clubs not for the status, but for the business connections. They attend charity galas not just for the cause, but for the networking opportunities. They live in neighborhoods where successful people are the norm, not the exception. This might sound elitist, but here is the truth. If you want to become wealthy, you need to study wealthy people, not broke people. And you cannot study wealthy people if you never encounter them. But being in the right environment means nothing without decision number 4, which is where most women completely sabotage themselves. The fourth decision that separates wealthy women from broke women is understanding the difference between investing and gambling. Most women think they are investing when they are actually gambling with their financial future. Barry Ritholtz 2025 book, How Not to Invest, identified the wealth-destroying mistakes that keep people poor forever. Number 1 on his list, emotional investing and trying to time the market. Women are particularly vulnerable to this because we tend to be more risk-averse. But then we compensate by making impulsive decisions during market volatility. Here is what happens. The market drops, and instead of seeing it as a buying opportunity, most women panic and sell their investments at a loss. Then when the market recovers, they buy back in at higher prices. They are literally buying high and selling low, which is the opposite of wealth building. Women's approach is completely different. When I see market volatility, I see opportunity. When cryptocurrency crashes, I am accumulating more Bitcoin. When real estate markets dip, I am looking for properties to add to my portfolio. Capgemini's 2025 Wealth Management Trends Report showed that artificial intelligence and data-driven decision-making are now essential for successful investing. The wealthy women I know are using technology to analyze market trends, optimize portfolios, and identify opportunities that emotional investors miss completely. But here's the part that will change your life. Wealthy women do not invest hoping to get rich quick. They invest knowing they will get rich slowly. They understand compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world, and they let time work in their favor. Look at Abigail Johnson, CEO of Fidelity Investments. With a net worth of $36.8 billion, she did not build that wealth by day trading or following TikTok investment tips. She built it through strategic, long-term thinking and consistent execution.
Yes, that is like a number one thing I've seen, even the simple path to wealth. When I listen to them, there is no get rich quick. I don't care how much you quantum leap or whatever. That one's kind of loud. I don't care how much you quantum leap. There is no get rich quick. They all have taken their time. You have to be patient and just follow these keys. I'm speaking so deep inside my spirit right now when I say this shit, bro. This shit is discipline beyond a discipline that many people cannot do. This shit is beautiful. Yeah, man. Let's go.
The fourth decision is this. Wealthy women invest based on research and strategy, not emotions and trends. They diversify across asset classes. They understand their risk tolerance, and they never invest money they cannot afford to lose. Most importantly, they never let fear of losses prevent them from taking calculated risks. But none of these 4 decisions matter without the 5th and final decision, which is the most important one of all. The 5th decision that transforms broke women into wealthy women is the decision to take complete ownership of their financial education and future. This is where most women fail spectacularly. Most women delegate their financial decisions to others or simply avoid them altogether. They let their husbands handle investments. They trust financial advisors without understanding what they are investing in. They follow influencers' advice without doing their own research. Then they wonder why they never build real wealth. Here is what the 2025 financial data shows. Only 38% of women consider themselves investors, compared to 52% of men. Even more telling, 49% of women say they are comfortable with their investing knowledge, versus 62% of men. But here is what the data does not show. The women who do take control of their financial education dramatically outperform women who do not. Women who work with financial advisors are not just getting investment advice. They are getting education that transforms their entire financial mindset. The wealthy women I know are voracious learners. They read financial reports. They understand market cycles. They can explain the difference between stocks and bonds, between growth and value investing, between tax advantage and taxable accounts. They know their net worth to the dollar, not just their bank account balance. Melinda French Gates, with her $30.4 billion net worth from her divorce settlement, did not just accept her payout and stop learning. She found pivotal ventures to invest in women-led funds and startups. She turned her financial windfall into a platform for building even more wealth while empowering other women. The fifth decision is about financial literacy leading to financial independence. It means understanding that your financial future is your responsibility, not your husband's, not your financial advisor's, not the government's. It is yours. Here is exactly what this looks like in practice. Wealthy women spend time each week reviewing their investments, tracking their net worth, and educating themselves about new opportunities. They do not just save money. They understand how money works. They do not just buy stocks. They understand what makes companies valuable, not just own real estate. They understand market cycles and cash flow analysis. Now let me tell you why these 5 decisions are so powerful when combined. The wealthy woman who makes all 5 decisions becomes unstoppable. She thinks like an investor, not a consumer. She surrounds herself with other successful people who challenge her to grow. She makes financial decisions based on strategy, not emotion. She continuously educates herself and takes ownership of her financial future. This is how Alice Walton built her $100 billion fortune. This is how Francoise Bettencourt Myers maintained the $80 billion empire. This is how self-made women like Diane Hendricks, who chairs the ABC Supply, built their wealth from nothing. But here is what I need you to understand. These decisions are not just for women who inherited money or married millionaires. These are the exact same decisions that self-made wealthy women used to build their fortunes from scratch. According to Forbes 2025 data, 13.4% of billionaires are now women, up from 13.3% last year. While progress is slow, it is consistent. More importantly, the number of self-made female billionaires has more than doubled over the past decade. You have 2 choices right now. You can continue making the same financial decisions that keep you checking your bank balance before buying coffee. Or you can start making the 5 decisions that build generational wealth. Choice 1, keep working for money instead of making money work for you. Keep making emotional financial decisions. Keep surrounding yourself with people who think small. Keep gambling with your investments instead of building strategic portfolios. Keep avoiding financial education and hoping things work out. Choice 2, start thinking like Alice Walton, acting like Melinda French Gates, and building wealth like the successful women who refuse to accept financial mediocrity. If you choose option 2, here is exactly what you need to do. Start treating every financial decision as an investment decision. Replace consumption with accumulation. Surround yourself with people who challenge you financially. Educate yourself about money until you understand it better than 90% of people around you. Take complete ownership of your financial future. Remember, the only difference between me lounging on my yacht in the Mediterranean and you worrying about your credit card payment is these 5 decisions. The opportunity is there. The information is available. The only question is, are you ready to stop being a financial victim and start being a wealth builder? If you want to become genuinely wealthy and join the ranks of financially successful women, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Leave a like on this video if you are serious about building real wealth, not just playing dress up with fake designer bags. I have left links in the first pinned comment to products that wealthy women actually use, investment platforms, financial education resources, and tools for tracking net worth. These are not affiliate links. These are resources I personally use and recommend. Before you go, comment below with this phrase if you enjoyed this video. Assets over income always. Let me know if you are ready to stop making excuses and start making millions. But let me tell you something that will shock you. Most women think they are making smart financial decisions when they are actually sabotaging their own wealth. They are doing exactly what broke people do while expecting rich people results. For example, most women are obsessed with budgeting and cutting coupons. They spend hours researching the best deals on groceries and celebrating when they save $5. Meanwhile, the wealthy women I know spend that same time researching investment opportunities that could make them $5,000. They understand that you cannot budget your way to wealth, but you can invest your way there. Here is another example. Most women are afraid of debt, so they pay cash for everything. They think being debt-free makes them financially responsible. But wealthy women understand the difference between good debt and bad debt. They use leverage to buy assets that appreciate, while broke women avoid all debt and miss opportunities to multiply their money. The McKinsey research on female wealth reveals something fascinating. Women are expected to control much of the $30 trillion in financial assets that baby boomers will possess by 2030. This is a wealth transfer so massive that it approaches the annual GDP of the United States. But here is what the research does not tell you. Most women are completely unprepared for this responsibility. Only a quarter of affluent women say they are comfortable making investment and savings-related decisions on their own, 15 percentage points lower than their male counterparts. Even more concerning, roughly half of all female financial decision makers say they feel unprepared for their financial goals despite having a financial advisor. This is exactly why most women will remain poor even when they inherit wealth. They will make the same 5 mistakes that keep them financially mediocre, and within 1 generation, that wealth will be gone. But here is what successful women understand that others do not. Wealth building is not about perfection. It is about progression. It is not about having all the answers. It is about making better decisions consistently over time. The women who will control that $30 trillion are not the ones waiting until they feel ready. They are the ones who started before they felt ready and learned along the way. They are the ones who made mistakes, adjusted their strategies, and kept moving forward. Real estate is a perfect example of this principle in action. According to industry data, single women now account for 20% of home purchases, compared to 8% by single men. More importantly, 78% of successful women real estate investors started their journey with less than $10,000. These women did not wait until they had perfect credit or massive down payments. They found creative ways to get started, using home equity, forming partnerships, leveraging crowdfunding platforms, and taking advantage of programs designed for first-time investors. They understood that real estate is not just about buying property. It is about building wealth through appreciation, cash flow, and tax advantages. But here is what separates wealthy women from wannabe wealthy women. Wealthy women understand that money is a tool, not a goal. They do not hoard cash, they deploy it strategically. They do not fear market volatility. They use it as an opportunity to buy assets at discount prices. They do not make financial decisions based on fear. They make them based on math and strategy. Women control about a third of United States household financial assets, more than $10 trillion. But controlling money and building wealth are 2 completely different things. Most women are controlling money that belongs to someone else or that they inherited. Wealthy women are building money that they created through strategic decisions and calculated risks. Let me give you a real example of how this works. While other women are debating whether they can afford a $300 purse, successful women are asking themselves, could that $300 be invested in a dividend-paying stock that generates passive income forever? Could it be used as part of a down payment on an investment property? Could it be invested in education? Or networking that opens doors to bigger opportunities? The difference in thinking is the difference between consumption and accumulation. The broke woman thinks, how can I afford this? The wealthy woman thinks, how can I make this afford itself? This brings us to the most important distinction of all. Wealthy women understand that their earning power is their greatest asset, and they invest in it accordingly. They do not just work for money. They work to build systems that generate money without their direct involvement. Look at the women who are building generational wealth in 2025. They are not just earning high salaries. They are creating multiple streams of income. They own businesses that generate revenue while they sleep. They have real estate portfolios that produce monthly cash flow. They have investment accounts that compound their wealth year after year. But here is what most women miss. Building wealth is not just about money. It is about mindset. The wealthy woman thinks differently about everything. She thinks about time differently, understanding that her time is her most valuable resource, and should be invested in activities that produce the highest returns. She thinks about relationships differently, surrounding herself with people who challenge her to grow rather than enabling her to stay comfortable. She thinks about problems differently, seeing challenges as opportunities to learn and grow rather than obstacles to avoid. She thinks about failure differently, understanding that failure is feedback that helps her adjust strategy rather than evidence that she should give up. Most importantly, she thinks about herself differently. She does not see herself as a victim of circumstances. She sees herself as the architect of her destiny. She does not wait for permission to pursue her goals. She gives herself permission and takes action. The 5 decisions I shared with you are not just financial strategies. They are mindset shifts that separate women who build wealth from women who struggle financially. But implementing these decisions requires something that most women are not willing to do. They require you to bet on yourself when nobody else will. They require you to invest in assets when others are spending on liabilities. They require you to think long-term when others are focused on immediate gratification. They require you to take calculated risks when others are paralyzed by fear. But here is what I know about you. If you have watched this video to the end, you are not like most women. You are not content with financial mediocrity. You are not satisfied with making excuses about why you cannot build wealth. You are ready to make the decisions that will transform your financial future. The question is, are you ready to start today? Are you ready to stop consuming financial content and start implementing financial strategies? Are you ready to stop talking about building wealth and start actually building wealth? Because here's the truth. The best time to start building wealth was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. Every day you wait is a day of compound interest you will never get back. Every month you delay is money you will never earn. Every year you postpone is wealth you will never build. I am not going to lie to you. Building wealth requires sacrifice. It requires discipline. It requires making decisions that other people will not understand. But the alternative is working until you die, depending on others for financial security, and leaving your family with nothing but debt and regret. The choice is yours. You can keep living paycheck to paycheck, making excuses about why you cannot build wealth and hoping that someone else will solve your financial problems. Or you can start making the 5 decisions that will transform you from a broke woman into a wealthy woman. If you choose wealth, here is exactly what you need to do right now. First, calculate your net worth today. Not your income, not your bank account balance, but your actual net worth. Assets minus liabilities equals your starting point. You cannot improve what you do not measure. Second, set a specific wealth target with a specific timeline. Not I want to be rich someday, but I want to have $500,000 in assets within 5 years. Vague goals produce vague results. Specific goals produce specific results. Third, identify one wealth-building action you can take this week. Open an investment account. Research real estate investment opportunities. Start a side business. Read a book about financial literacy. Take one concrete step toward your financial goals. Fourth, find one person in your life who is more financially successful than you and ask them to mentor you. Not your broke friends who will tell you that your dreams are unrealistic. Not your family members who are struggling financially themselves. Find someone who has already achieved what you want to achieve. Fifth, commit to learning something new about money every single day. Listen to financial podcasts during your commute, read financial books before bed, watch educational videos about investing and entrepreneurship. Make financial education a daily habit, not an occasional activity. The wealthy women I know did not become wealthy by accident. They became wealthy by making deliberate decisions consistently over time. They did not wait for perfect conditions. They started with imperfect conditions and improved them along the way. Most importantly, they did not let fear stop them from taking action. They understood that the risk of not building wealth was greater than the risk of trying and failing. They understood that regret weighed more than discipline. So let me ask you one final question. 5 years from now, do you want to be in the same financial position you are in today? Or do you want to be on your way to becoming genuinely wealthy? If you want to build real wealth, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Leave a like on this video if you are committed to making the 5 decisions that will transform your financial future. And most importantly, take action today. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. I have left comprehensive resources in the first pinned comment. Investment platforms, real estate education, financial planning tools, and everything. You need to start building wealth immediately. These are not affiliate links. These are resources I personally use and recommend because they work. Before you go, comment, assets over income always. If you are ready to stop being a consumer and start being an investor, let me know you understand that building wealth is a decision, not an accident. Now stop scrolling through social media looking for entertainment and start scrolling through investment opportunities looking for your future. The difference between the two activities will determine whether you retire wealthy or die broke. Time to choose, darling. Are you going to keep being poor, or are you ready to become powerful? You know what really gets under my perfectly manicured nails? Watching someone throw away their chance at wealth because they are making the same tired mistakes over and over again. A recent survey revealed that 126.5 million Americans admit to making significant financial mistakes at least. You know what always goes up? My credit card bills at Hermes. But the stock market? Well, honey, that is a whole different conversation, and one that might save you from dating another broke boy who thinks Red Lobster is fine dining. See, everyone, keep saying the stock market always goes up, just like how I always demand the finest things in life. But recently, something called DeepSeek just wiped out over $2 trillion from American tech stocks in a single day. Yes, you heard that right, 2 trillion. That is more money than most countries have. And it vanished faster than my patience when someone suggests we split the check. But here is what really gets me fired up. While we are talking about market volatility, there is something even more shocking happening to women and money. Less than half of women over 25 have any retirement savings at all. Less than half. Meanwhile, 59% of women say they do not earn enough to save for retirement. That is not a market problem, darling. That is a priorities problem. Now let me tell you something about the financial literacy gender gap, because it makes me madder than seeing someone wear polyester to a charity gala. Women score 25% lower on financial literacy tests than men, even though we show no difference in math skills or overall intelligence. 25%. That means we are walking around financially literate while men are making all the money decisions. And get this, only 16% of women aged 40 to 65 have ever received any financial education. 16%. We spend more time researching which foundation matches our skin tone than we do learning how to build generational wealth. No wonder the average man retires with twice the pension savings of the average woman. Twice. The gender pension gap is so brutal that a girl would need to start saving for retirement at 3 years old to retire with the same amount as men, 3 years old. While little boys are playing with trucks, little girls would need to be opening retirement accounts just to break even. This is not cute. This is catastrophic. Speaking of DeepSeek, this Chinese artificial intelligence company basically walked into Silicon Valley wearing a knockoff Chanel suit and proved they could do everything for $5.6 million that American companies spend billions on. Nvidia lost $589 billion in market value in one day. $589 billion. That is the biggest single loss in stock market history. Bigger than what most people lose when they marry poor. But you know what is worse than a market crash? Women being so financially unprepared that 64% have never invested anything, ever. While men are panic selling tech stocks, most women are not even in the game to begin with. We are sitting on the sidelines like wallflowers at a billionaire AF's birthday party. This gender investment gap gets worse with age. Women invest 29% less than men, and 45% of women say lack of money is their biggest obstacle to investing. But here's what makes me want to throw my Louboutin at the wall. Only 48% of women who do invest consider themselves knowledgeable about it, compared to 59% of men. We are so busy worrying about whether we know enough that we never start building wealth. Meanwhile, research shows that when women do invest, we actually make better decisions than men. We are less likely to panic sell during market downturns, more likely to diversify our portfolios, and we trade less frequently, which means lower fees and better returns. But we are too busy being humble to capitalize on our natural advantages. But here is where it gets interesting for us smart women who refuse to be financially mediocre. The stock market has this beautiful thing called historical performance. Since 1950, the Standard & Poor 500 has been positive 79% of the time. That means roughly 4 out of every 5 years, you make money. Those are better odds than finding a financially stable man on dating apps, trust me. Women who do not invest are essentially choosing to stay poor. And choosing poverty when you could choose wealth is like choosing to wear fast fashion when You could afford couture. It makes no sense, and it is beneath you. In 2024 alone, the Standard & Poor 500 gained 23.3%. That is better than most marriages I know. The market hit new highs over 50 times last year. 50 times. Meanwhile, most women hit new lows by accepting dinner dates at Olive Garden. The retirement statistics are even more devastating. Women have 32% less saved retirement than men. By the time we reach retirement age, the average woman has $69,000 saved, while men have $205,000. That is a $136,000 gap. $136,000. That is enough money to buy a decent car or maintain my skincare routine for a decade. Now, let me tell you something about bubbles, because I have seen plenty, including the bubble of female financial ignorance that needs to pop immediately. The Dutch had their tulip bubble in 1637. People were literally mortgaging houses to buy flower bulbs. Flower bulbs. At least when I mortgage my future for a Birkin bag, I get something that holds its value and makes other women jealous. But women mortgaging their financial futures by not investing? That is the real bubble that needs our attention. We are speculating that someone else will take care of us financially instead of building our own wealth empires. Japan had their massive bubble in the late 1980s. Their stock market crashed so hard in 1989 that it still has not fully recovered. That was 36 years ago. Imagine waiting 36 years for your investments to break even. I would rather wait that long for the perfect billionaire to propose. But waiting 36 years to start investing because you think you do not know enough? That is financial suicide with designer shoes on. Every year you delay is money you cannot get back, compound interest you cannot reclaim, and wealth you cannot rebuild. But here's the thing about American markets. They always come back stronger, just like me after every breakup with a financially inadequate man. The 1929 crash took 25 years to recover, but those who stayed invested became incredibly wealthy. The 2008 financial crisis? The market was back to new highs by 2013. Women live longer than men, 83 years versus 79, which means we need more money for retirement, not less. Yet we are saving less and starting later. This is like planning a longer vacation but packing a smaller suitcase. The math does not work, and the consequences are not cute. The secret is not timing the market. That is like trying to time when a rich man will notice you exist. Instead, you invest consistently in quality companies, just like how I consistently invest in quality skincare and designer handbags. Both appreciate over time. And let me address the elephant in the room. Women are less likely to seek financial advice than men. We will spend hours researching which mascara to buy, but will not spend 20 minutes talking to a financial advisor who could help us become millionaires.
You know, when I was 28 years old, maybe 30 years old, I was like, I want to talk to a financial advisor. I called that lady one time, and what happened is I called my mother. It's like, that's the thing about, you got to be careful who you talk to. Like, no, I wouldn't talk to no financial advisor. I'm not paying nobody to tell me what to do with my money and this, that, and the third. But I never went to that lady. And she was really kind, you know. But that's true. That's true. Even now, 10 years later, here I am realizing that. And I've been thinking about it. Like, it was just always in my mind. How do you find a good ass financial advisor? You know what I'm saying? Like, who qualifies to be a great financial advisor for you? But these are the things you may have to write down, and it may be the type of help that you may need to help, because you never know. Someone could just be that push to get you there.
This backward priority system has got to stop. Speaking of appreciating, over time, let me tell you about compound interest. Albert Einstein supposedly called it the eighth wonder of the world. If you invest $100 monthly for 20 years in an index fund averaging 10% returns, you end up with about $76,000. You only put in $24,000 of your own money. The other $52,000? That is compound interest working harder than a gold digger at a tech conference. But here is the plot twist that should make every woman furious. When women do invest, we contribute a higher percentage of our income to retirement accounts than men do, 9.4% versus their contribution rate. We are more dedicated savers when we actually start, but we start too late and with too little money because of the wage gap. But the real question is not whether the market always goes up. The real question is whether you have the discipline to stay invested when it goes down, and whether you have the courage to start investing when you feel unprepared. Most people panic and sell at the bottom, just like they panic and accept the first mediocre man who shows them basic human decency. The biggest tragedy is that women who are not confident about investing often choose not to invest at all, rather than learning as they go. This perfectionist mindset is keeping poor. You do not need to be a financial expert to start building wealth. You just need to start. The market does not care about your feelings or your confidence level. It does not care that you need money for rent next month or that you want to buy a Tesla tomorrow. The market operates on its own timeline, just like wealthy men operate on their own schedule. You have to be patient and strategic. Here is what the data tells us about successful women investors. We are more likely to do our research before investing. We hold our investments longer, which means lower fees and better returns. We diversify better than men. We are less likely to make emotional decisions during market volatility. So why are we not investing more? Because we have been conditioned to believe we are not smart enough, when the evidence shows we are actually better at it. Now, let me address gambling, because some people think the stock market is just like a casino. The only casino I frequent is Monte Carlo, and that is because the champagne is excellent and the men actually own their own planes. But seriously, gambling and investing are completely different. When you gamble, the house always has an edge. When you invest in quality companies, you own a piece of businesses that generate real profits and create real value. The only gambling happening here is women gambling with their financial futures by not investing. You are betting that inflation will not erode your savings, that Social Security will be enough, that someone else will take care of you financially. Those are terrible odds, worse than any casino game. Warren Buffett, who is actually on my list of potential lunch companions along with Elon Musk, says the stock market is a voting machine in the short run, but a weighing machine in the long run. Short-term volatility is just noise, like the opinions of broke people about my lifestyle choices. Women need to stop treating investing like it is some exclusive club we cannot join. The financial services industry has not exactly rolled out the red carpet for us. Only 15% of financial advisors are women, and many firms still assume men make all the financial decisions. But that is changing, and we need to change with it. The recent DeepSeek situation is actually a perfect example. Yes, tech stocks crashed initially because investors worried about artificial intelligence valuations. But within days, many stocks recovered as people realized that cheaper artificial intelligence actually means more companies can afford to use it, creating even more demand. Women who were not investing missed both the crash and the recovery. We were neither hurt by the volatility nor helped by the rebound. We were just sitting on the sidelines watching other people make and lose money while our own money slowly lost value to inflation. This is exactly like when a new designer releases an accessible luxury line. Initially, established luxury brands panic about competition, but then they realize that making luxury more accessible actually grows the entire market. More people get introduced to the luxury lifestyle, and many eventually upgrade to the premium brands. The financial literacy gender gap is not just about education. It is about confidence, access, and societal expectations. We have been taught that money management is masculine, that investing is risky, that we should be conservative with our finances. But conservative investing has left women broke in retirement. The key to stock market success is the same as the key to lifestyle success. You need standards, patience, and the ability to ignore short-term noise. Do not invest money you need. Within 5 years, just like you should not date men you would not marry. Both require long-term thinking. But here is what I want every woman watching this to understand. Your financial literacy gap is not a personal failing. It is a systemic problem that requires individual action. The system was not designed for us, but we can still win within it. Diversification is crucial. Do not put all your money in one stock. Just like you should not put all your energy into one potentially broke man until his financial statements are verified. Spread your investments across different sectors, different companies, different geographic regions. This way, when one area disappoints you, like when technology stocks crash because of Chinese competition, your energy stocks or healthcare stocks might be performing well. Start with what you can afford, even if it is just $25 a month. The gender pension gap starts at 16% in our 20s, but grows to 55% by retirement. The earlier you start, the more compound interest works in your favor and the smaller that gap becomes. Index funds are your best friend if you want simple, effective investing. They automatically diversify your money across hundreds of companies. It is like having a team of financial advisors working for you at a fraction of the cost. The Vanguard Standard & Poor 500 Fund has averaged about 10% annually since inception. That is better performance than most people's dating lives. Use technology to your advantage. 47% of women entrepreneurs are using social media for financial advice, with YouTube leading the way. While I appreciate the initiative, make sure you are getting advice from credible sources, not from influencers who think budgeting means buying the generic designer knockoff instead of the real thing. But remember, past performance does not guarantee future results, just like past boyfriends do not guarantee future happiness. However, the underlying principle remains the same. American companies continue to innovate, grow, and create value. The population grows, technology advances, and productivity increases. These fundamental drivers suggest the long-term trajectory remains upward. Take advantage of employer matching and retirement accounts. If your company matches your 401k contributions and you are not contributing enough to get the full match, you are literally leaving free money on the table. Free money. That is like declining a gift card to Neiman Marcus because you think you do not deserve nice things. Even with artificial intelligence disruption, even with Chinese competition, even with whatever crisis comes next, the market adapts and evolves. Companies that cannot compete get replaced by companies that can. It is natural selection for businesses, and it keeps the overall market healthy and growing. Women need to stop being so conservative with our money that we end up broke. Research shows that women keep more money in savings accounts earning practically nothing, while men invest more aggressively and build more wealth. Playing it safe financially is actually the riskiest strategy of all when you live longer and earn less over your lifetime. The most important lesson is this: time in the market beats timing the market. Just like how being consistently fabulous beats having occasional moments of looking decent. Start investing early, invest regularly, and stay invested through the ups and downs. The financial confidence gap is real, but it is also conquerable. Every successful woman investor started exactly where you are right now, knowing less than she wanted to know, but starting anyway. Perfect knowledge is not a prerequisite for building wealth. Action is. Your future self will thank you, just like she will thank you for never settling for a man who cannot afford to take you somewhere nicer than Applebee's. Both decisions require short-term sacrifice for long-term luxury. And let me be crystal clear about something. The women who are successfully building wealth through investing are not necessarily the ones with the highest financial literacy scores. They are the ones who started before they felt ready, who invested before they felt confident, who built wealth while they learned. If you are serious about building wealth and joining me in the land of financial freedom, subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. Stop being part of the 64% of women who have never invested and start being part of the solution. I have left links to some wonderfully expensive products in my pinned comment, because shopping is also an investment in your happiness and social status. But investing is an investment in your actual future. Let me know in the comments. Women building wealth wins. Did you enjoy learning about wealth building from someone who actually lives the lifestyle you want? Give this video a like if you are ready to stop being part of the financial literacy, gender gap, and start being part of the wealth building solution. The stock market will keep going up over time, but your financial security depends on whether you are participating in that growth or watching it from the sidelines. Stop watching. Start investing. Start building. Start becoming the wealthy woman you deserve to be. Are you still waiting to win the lottery or find a sugar daddy while ordinary people are becoming millionaires right in front of you? Pause right now and tell me, what do you prefer? Waiting for luck or building your wealth brick by brick? I'm Duchess Dollars, and today I will reveal the strategy that has created more millionaires than any family tree full of rich uncles. My beauty salon costs more than the car of that boy who asks you to split the dinner bill, but what I will teach you today will cost nothing beyond your discipline. And look, I hate that word. Discipline reminds me of the gym at 6 in the morning, and darling, I only wake up early to catch a flight to Paris. In America, a teacher named Jane invested just a few $100s every month since the 1980s and retired wealthy in 2020. You know what she said? I did not understand stocks. I just knew I needed to invest every month like it was a fixed bill. And this woman understood game before I even bought my first Hermes bag. And mind you, Mr. Millionaire always told me investing was for bored people with too much free time. You religiously pay your rent, electricity, water, internet, Netflix, food delivery, that phone installment you bought to take better photos for Instagram. But where is the account for your wealthy future? For your future self who will be able to laugh at your poor version today? That is the difference between us. I think about the future, you think about today's story. The problem is that when it comes to investing, people become an emotional amusement park. The market rises, everyone becomes an expert. I will buy more. It rises even more. Total excitement. My neighbor made money, I will too. Still rising? Euphoria. I will sell my car, take out a loan, mortgage my mother's house, and invest everything. And then, my dear, the downfall begins. The market stops rising, anxiety comes. Should I sell? It falls a little. Denial. It is just a temporary correction, like that relationship you swore would work out. Falls more. Fear. My money is disappearing. Falls even more. Desperation, panic, help. And what do most people do? Sell everything at rock bottom. Exactly like you broke up with that ex when he was at his worst, only to see him rich and married to a blonde later. Then of course comes discouragement, depression. Why did I do that? I could be rich. But there is a strategy that eliminates this emotional roller coaster. You do not need to be as smart as me or have married a Mr. Millionaire. It is called dollar cost average, or DCA for intimates. And no, it is not the name of a Dolce & Gabbana bag, although it should be. It is ridiculously simple. Even a child would understand. You invest a fixed amount at a constant frequency, every month, every week, regardless of whether the market is in the clouds or underground. It works like this. Decided to invest 400 Rs per month? Every first day, that money leaves your account as if it were rent. Or divide it into 4 and invest 100 Rs per week. The secret is consistency. The same one lacking in boys who text you at 3 in the morning saying they have changed. When the market rises, you buy fewer shares. When it falls, you buy more. It is like a sale. The cheaper it gets, the more you buy. Over time, you accumulate wealth without having to guess when to enter or exit. No drama, no tears, except joy. When you see the result, like when I see my account statement. Warren Buffett, whom the press insists is my friend, but I really only saw him once at a charity event where he did not even notice my $10,000 dress, started delivering newspapers, and today has more than $164 billion. He defends this strategy. He learned from Benjamin Graham that investing with discipline and regularity is much more powerful than any hot market tip. And mind you, Warren is not just anyone. He is one of the few rich men I respect. Besides my Mr. Millionaire and Elon Musk, who between us has something in his gaze. But there is no point in doing DCA with just anything. It is not like giving an ugly man a chance, which sometimes works out if he is rich. The American who went broke investing in a department store should be a lesson. It is like dating a boy. With a history of cheating, he will break your heart and your bank account. You have to choose carefully where to put your money. An excellent option is the S&P 500, an index that brings together the 500 largest American companies. It adjusts itself. When a company loses relevance, it leaves. When another grows, it enters. It is like that friend who only introduces you to rich and successful men, not the unemployed cousin. By definition, the S&P always seeks market winners. And do not think you are only investing in the USA. Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Amazon, these companies sell to the whole world. It is like having an international boyfriend. You may be in Brazil, but you are enjoying global benefits. You are exposed to the growth of the world economy, not just your neighborhood's GDP. Let us talk numbers now. And I know you hate math as much as I hate counterfeit bags. A study of almost 100 years showed that the American market generated $47.3 trillion between 1926 and 2019. That is so much money that even I cannot imagine how much it is. And look, I can perfectly visualize a closet with 500 pairs of shoes. Of more than 26,000 companies analyzed, only 1,092 were responsible for generating all that wealth. And only 83 companies generated more than half. Imagine the work finding these needles in the haystack. It is harder than finding a handsome, rich, faithful man who does not live with his mother. This is where the ETF comes in, a fund that replicates the index with a very low management fee. Instead of looking for needle by needle, you buy the entire haystack. And if a company becomes the next Amazon or Apple, you will already be in there. It is like having a sugar daddy who introduces you to all his millionaire friends. I will show you how simple it is in practice. Because even a princess like me can do this between one massage session and another. I open the brokerage app, make my deposit. It can be a small amount to start. You do not need to sell your kidney. Convert to dollars, which still yield 5% per year just sitting there like that money you forgot in your purse. Transfer. To my trading account, look for the ETF that replicates the S&P 500 and invest. Done. Less time than you take choosing a filter for Instagram. No fee to buy, no fee to sell. Even my dog Chanel could do this, if she had opposable thumbs, of course. And the link to open your account with benefits is in the description, because, unlike your ex, I really want to see you rich. But do not think it is a bed of roses, or rather, a Victoria's Secret fashion show where there are only models of 5 feet 11 inches and you with your 5 feet 5 inches. History shows that the market has its ups and downs, like my mood during PMS. In 1987, we had a crisis that knocked the market down by more than 30%. In the dot-com bubble, it fell almost 50%. In 2008, in the real estate crisis, it plummeted 55%. In the pandemic in 2020, another 30% drop. And from the beginning of this year to now, it has already fallen almost 10%. However, and this is the trick that finance magazines do not tell you with the DCA strategy, you do not buy everything at once. During these falls, you continue buying, accumulating more shares at lower prices. It is like always being on sale. And unlike that bag you bought on sale and later discovered was fake, these stocks are real and can make you truly rich. I made a table simulating someone who invested just $300 every month since 1995. Less than you spend on Uber and delivery per month. Admit it. In the first month, they bought 6.37 shares at $47 each. The following month, they bought more and more and more. Religiously, like you check your crush's Instagram. After 1 year, they already had $4,000. After 10 years, $50,000. In 2025, $436,000. Just with $300 per month, doing nothing more than pressing a button. That is less effort than you make trying to post the perfect photo on your feed. Now, pay attention, because this is important. There is no point in implementing this strategy with any investment. A company like Americanas, which lost money for 10 consecutive years before going bankrupt, will not make you rich even with all the DCA in the world. It is like investing in a relationship with a boy who never finished college and still lives. With his mother, you can be as consistent as you want, the return will be pitiful. Not even Ibovespa, our Brazilian index, is so reliable for this strategy. It is very concentrated, almost 25% in just 2 companies, Vale and Petrobras. It is like betting all your money on just 2 boyfriends, one of whom is a public servant and the other works with commodities. Zero diversification. If we look at Ibovespa's performance in dollars, since before the 2008 crisis, it has not hit its historical high again. Why? In 2008, the dollar was at 1.8 reais. Today it is almost 5.7 reais, meaning our currency has lost 3 times its value. The 500 reais bag you bought in 2008 now costs 1,500 reais without becoming prettier or more spacious. Meanwhile, Ibovespa went from 71,000 points to 131,000, not even doubling. It is like your salary that increased 50% in 15 years, but your rent tripled. That is why you need to think in dollars, darling. Answer honestly. Which economy will grow more in the coming years, Brazil or the United States? It is like choosing between betting on the neighborhood team or Real Madrid. Which currency will have less inflation, real or dollar? One loses value faster than lipstick on barbecue day. And even though we spend in reais here, everything is quoted in dollars. Wheat, gasoline, soybeans, that iPhone you dream of buying, the ticket to Cancun. That is why our purchasing power has been squeezed in recent years. In 30 years, the real has already lost more than 80% of its purchasing power. It is like that promise from your ex that he will change. We know it will not happen. Speaking of opportunities you should not miss, another excellent option for DCA is Bitcoin. And no, it is not that scheme your cousin tried to convince you to join last year. Look at this simulation. Someone who bought just $300 per month since 2015, less than you spend on that makeup box subscription you never use, today would have 24 Bitcoins, more than $2 million. But in 2015, Bitcoin was worth almost nothing, Duchess. Okay, let us see who started in the pandemic in 2020, when everyone was at home watching Money Heist and making sourdough bread, investing $300 monthly. Since then, today they would have 0.76 Bitcoin, a wealth of $64,000. That is more than the car of that boy who offered you a ride and then asked for money for gas. Warren Buffett himself, and look, he does not even follow me on Instagram yet, says that for people who cannot delve into stock analysis, the best 8 strategy is to regularly invest in a low-cost index fund, maintaining contributions for many years. Trying to guess the market almost always ends badly for the common investor. It is like trying to guess if he will call you after the first date. The anxiety is not worth it. I do not play in casinos or lotteries, darling. I only play if the prize is a millionaire husband or a private island. Otherwise, my love, I prefer to bet on myself. The difference between me and you playing is that I play with other people's money. If I lose, tough luck for Mr. Millionaire. The only casino that interests me is Monte Carlo. Because there, if you lose, at least you lose with class, champagne, and a Dior dress. You want to play the lottery? Darling, you already lost when you were born poor. You will have to play the entrepreneurship or investment game now. I do not bet because I prefer certainty. And certainty, my dear, is inheritance, signed contract, and joint account with a CEO, or an investment strategy that has worked for decades. Slot machines are entertainment for those who have not yet learned that the biggest stroke of luck is a stable union with someone from Forbes, or a well-built portfolio that grows while you sleep. I do not gamble, darling, I invest. And the best investment is always a good relationship with someone who is already rich, or a consistent strategy that has already made thousands of ordinary people millionaires. See how it is possible to get rich with discipline and consistency? If you were not born an heiress nor found your millionaire yet, this is your chance. And if you have passed the age where Leonardo DiCaprio would accept dating you, all more reason to start investing today. Leave a like if you want to be rich, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to learn more strategies like this. And comment rich without lottery if you liked it and will start your DCA today. Remember, while other women are asking for enough to pay the bills, I'm asking for enough to buy the company that issues the bills. The Bible says, ask and you shall receive, but it does not specify that you should ask big. While other women are asking for enough to pay the bills, I am asking for enough to buy the company that issues the bills. Stop being a fool, darling. Follow my advice, invest consistently, and in a few years, you will be drinking champagne by my side, laughing at all those who continue waiting for a winning ticket or a Prince Charming. Succeed in life like me. Until the next video. Darling, your bank account is suffering from withdrawal symptoms, and not the kind where money comes out to play. You have become addicted to all the wrong things. Netflix marathons, endless scrolling, and that relationship with a man whose idea of luxury is splitting the bill at Olive Garden. Poor girl activities that keep you exactly where you are, broke, and wondering why your life looks nothing like the lifestyle you dream about. I am Duchess Dollars, and trust me when I say this, I have seen both sides. Before I married Mr. Millionaire and started wearing diamonds for breakfast, I was just like you, addicted to behaviors that kept me poor. I used to think putting water in my shampoo bottle to make it last longer was being financially savvy. How embarrassing. Now I know that true financial savvy is training your brain to crave wealth-building activities the way it currently craves TikTok and those hideous sale racks at discount stores. Have you noticed how easy it is to get hooked on things that drain your wallet? You stay up until 3 in the morning watching someone else live their fictional life on screen, then wake up too tired to build your own empire. The irony, it is easier to watch fictional characters hustle than to hustle yourself. You spend hours scrolling through Instagram looking at luxury vacations in Bali that you will never afford, because you are too busy scrolling instead of earning. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt that delicious rush of excitement? Was it when you bought those cheap shoes on sale, the ones already falling apart? Or was it when you managed to pay your rent on time and felt accomplished? Darling, that is not excitement. That is surviving. And Duchess Dollars does not do survival mode. Let me tell you something that changed everything for me. Our brains cannot tell the difference between good addictions and bad ones. It simply gets hooked on whatever you repeat. So why not exploit this neurological quirk and get addicted to becoming wealthy instead? My brain used to be wired for poverty. Binge watching shows, comparing myself to others, and dating men who thought a Timex was the luxury timepiece. But then I had an epiphany while sipping champagne on my third date with a hedge fund manager. What if I became obsessed with activities that filled my bank account instead of emptying it? The first step? I started treating my financial education like a Netflix series. I could not wait for the next episode. Instead of watching...
It's so funny because I sit here and I want to ask ChatGPT, right? As a screenwriter, I have to read scripts and I have to watch films, right? So therefore, um I have to watch this stuff, right? Give me a moment. I'm gonna talk to my chat GTP. I'll be back for give me like the most. All right, I'm getting my answer right now, y'all. Give me a minute. I didn't want to put this on the screen. I'm gonna just go ahead and have some music playing though. I'll be back.
watching Stranger Things, I started learning about interest things. I made wealth building my new addiction. Every morning, I would check my investment before checking Instagram. Every evening, I would read 10 pages of a finance book before watching reality TV. Small habits, darling. That is how addictions start, with tiny, seemingly insignificant actions that your brain eventually cannot live without. Leonardo DiCaprio would never date you if you keep making poor financial choices, and not just because you are probably over 25. If you want to join the wealthy, you need to rewire your neural pathways. Let me be brutally honest with you. Most of you watching are addicted to poverty behaviors. You get that little dopamine hit from buying something cheap that breaks immediately, or from dating men who think a nice dinner means extra guacamole at Chipotle. But Duchess, you say, I cannot afford luxury. Of course you cannot. You are too busy being addicted to things that keep you poor. Do you think I just magically started loving financial spreadsheets? Absolutely not. I had to train my brain the same way you train a puppy, with consistent repetition and rewards. Every time I checked my investments, I treated myself to a small reward. Eventually, my brain started associating wealth building with pleasure. Neuroscience, darling. Use it to your advantage. When I talk to the wives at polo matches, yes, that is where I find my wealthy girlfriends. Not at happy hour at Applebee's. They all share one common trait. They are addicted to wealth-building habits. It is not that they were born knowing how to be rich. They simply repeated profitable behaviors until their brains craved them like mine craves the latest Birkin. Let me share what the rich wives at my country club are addicted to. Checking their investment portfolios before checking social media, reading financial news with their morning coffee, networking with purpose instead of just socializing, and saying no to expenses that do not appreciate in value. These women get physically uncomfortable if they go a day without growing their wealth. That is the level of addiction you need to cultivate. One of my friends, who shall remain nameless, but her husband runs one of the largest tech companies in Silicon Valley, actually schedules money dates with herself every week. She spends 2 hours reviewing her finances, learning new investment strategies, and planning her next wealth moves. At first, she had to force herself to do this. Now, she gets anxious if she misses her money date. Her brain is literally addicted to financial growth. The neuroscience is fascinating. Harvard studies show that your brain gets hooked on whatever you do repeatedly. The difference between me and you: I am addicted to checking my investment portfolio while you are addicted to checking your XAS Instagram. Your brain operates on something called the habit loop. Cue, routine, reward. When you feel bored, cue, you scroll through social media, routine, and get a tiny hit of dopamine from seeing something interesting, reward. The wealthy have the same brain chemistry, but different habits. When they feel bored, cue, they might check their investments, routine, and get excited about growth, reward. The beauty of neuroscience is that you can literally reprogram your neural pathways. Every time you choose to read a financial book instead of scrolling through social media, you create new neural connections. Within 66 days, that is the scientific average for habit formation, your brain will start craving those wealth-building activities. Did you know that when you learn something new about money, your brain releases the same pleasure chemicals as when you eat chocolate? The difference is that financial knowledge compounds, while chocolate just compounds on your thighs. Sorry, not sorry for the truth bomb, darling. Here is your prescription from Dr. Duchess. Start small. If you currently spend 8 hours watching reality shows about rich people, cut it down to 7 and use that hour to learn about the stock market. Your brain will resist at first. It loves that dopamine hit from seeing drama unfold. But slowly, you will start craving the dopamine from seeing your money grow instead. Let me share my 3-step addiction transfer process. Step 1. Identify your poverty addictions. Is it mindless scrolling? Online shopping for things you do not need? Binge watching shows that teach you nothing? Dating men who expect to go Dutch on a $2 coffee date? Write them all down. Step 2. For each poverty addiction, create a wealth alternative. Instead of scrolling through Instagram for an hour, read investment news for 15 minutes. Instead of watching reality TV for 3 hours, watch 30 minutes of financial education videos, preferably mine, of course. Instead of dating men who drive Honda Civics, start frequenting places where successful people gather. Charity galas, golf clubs, or even upscale hotel lobbies where you can simply order a sparkling water and observe. Step 3. Use temptation bundling. This is where the magic happens. Only allow yourself to indulge in your poverty addiction after you complete your wealth activity. Want to scroll through social media? Fine, but only after you have spent 15 minutes learning about investments. Your brain will start associating The pleasure of the poverty addiction with the wealth activity. And eventually, the wealth activity itself will become pleasurable. When I first married Mr. Millionaire, I did not know a dividend from a divorcee. But I trained myself to get excited about quarterly earnings the way I used to get excited about season finales. Now my brain literally gets high from reading the Wall Street Journal. Talk about a profitable addiction. Let me give you a real example. Tuesday mornings used to be when I watched trashy reality TV. Now, Tuesday mornings are when I review my investment portfolio. At first, it was torture. I would stare at those numbers and charts feeling nothing but boredom. But I forced myself to do it every Tuesday for just 15 minutes. I made it special. Fancy coffee, classical music playing softly, wearing my silk robe. After about 6 weeks, something magical happened. I started looking forward to Tuesday mornings. My brain began associating those portfolio reviews with pleasure. Now, I actually get antsy if I cannot check my investments on Tuesday mornings. I feel that same rush of anticipation I used to feel before watching my favorite shows. That is what happens when you deliberately rewire your neural pathways to crave wealth building instead of wealth draining activities. Mr. Millionaire laughs at me sometimes. Duchess, he says, most women get excited about jewelry. You get excited about compound interest. And you know what? He is right. And that is why he married me instead of one of those basic girls who only know how to spend money, not make it. You see, poor women get addicted to consuming. Rich women get addicted to producing. While you are consuming TikTok videos, I am producing passive income streams. Your brain gets a little hit of pleasure from each scroll, but mine gets orgasmic pleasure from each dollar my money makes while I sleep. Let me break this down even further. There are 2 types of activities in life, those that drain your wealth and those that build it. Watching Netflix drains wealth. You pay a subscription fee and get nothing financial in return. Scrolling social media drains wealth. You waste hours that could be spent earning or learning. Dating men who think Olive Garden is fine dining drains not just your wealth, but your soul, darling. On the flip side, reading financial news builds wealth. You gain knowledge that helps you make better money decisions. Learning a high-income skill builds wealth. You can earn more per hour of your precious time. Networking with successful people builds wealth. Opportunities come from connections, not from your couch. The tragedy is that wealth-draining activities are designed to be addictive. Netflix autoplays the next episode. Social media has infinite scroll. Dating apps give you that little dopamine hit when you match with someone new, even if that someone is destined to ask you to split the check at Chipotle. You need to harness the same addictive psychology and apply it to wealth-building activities. Create your own autoplay for success. After you check your investments, immediately do something else productive. Chain these activities together until your brain starts to crave the entire sequence. The best part? Once you start this habit loop of wealth-building activities, your brain will fight to keep it going. That is how addiction works, darling. Your brain wants to repeat what it knows, so make it no luxury. I will tell you a secret that most financial gurus will not admit. The wealthy are not disciplined. They are addicted. The difference is what they are addicted to. My wealthy friends are not forcing themselves to check their investments, read financial news, or network with other successful people. They do these things automatically because their brains crave the dopamine release these activities provide. Think about your current addictions. Do you have to force yourself to check Instagram? Do you need willpower to binge watch Netflix? Of course not. You do these things automatically because your brain has formed neural pathways that associate these activities with pleasure. Now imagine if your brain formed the same neural pathways around tracking your investments, learning new financial strategies, or building valuable skills. You would do these things automatically, no willpower required. That is the power of addiction transfer. Let me share something personal. I used to be addicted to shopping, buying things I did not need just that momentary high. Now I get the same high from watching my investment accounts grow. I literally check them multiple times a day, not because I need to, but because my brain craves that little hit of dopamine when I see the numbers go up. I have transferred my addiction from something that drained my wealth to something that builds it. Even Chanel, my perfectly groomed Pomeranian, understands the concept. I trained her to get excited about the sound of my stock trading app notifications. Now she literally salivates when she hears that I have made money. If a dog can be conditioned to love wealth, so can you. You should see Chanel when my investment app notifications sounds. Her little ears perk up, and she runs to me with her tail wagging. Why? Because I deliberately paired that sound with giving her a tiny treat. Now she associates my financial success with her own pleasure. Classical conditioning at its finest. And if a fluffy little dog with a brain the size of a walnut can form these associations, what excuse do you have? I did the same thing with myself. Every time I completed a wealth-building activity, reviewing my portfolio, reading a financial book or with purpose, I would reward myself with something small but pleasurable. A piece of expensive chocolate, 5 minutes of guilt-free social media scrolling, or a quick peek at the latest designer collection. My brain quickly connected wealth building with pleasure, and now I crave financial activities the way you probably crave that first morning scroll through Instagram. The science behind this is called temptation bundling, coined by behavioral economist Catherine Milkman. It is when you link something you need to do, but might avoid, with something you want to do, like only allowing yourself to watch Netflix, while exercising or only enjoying your favorite coffee while reviewing your budget. This teaches your brain to crave the necessary activities because they are paired with immediate pleasure. Do you think Taylor Swift got where she is by spending her evenings watching Netflix? No! She got addicted to creating, to building her empire brick by brick. You think she was born knowing how to negotiate multi-million-dollar contracts? She simply repeated the behaviors that made her successful until her brain.
Taylor Swift works. Taylor Swift works. And she writes her songs. She's talented. She found her own style. It looks like Taylor Swift even learned how to hip hop rhyme, because she'll be doing some kind of hip hop stuff in her music now. She really developed herself. Yeah.
Brain craved them more than comfort. Let us be honest about something. Taylor Swift works harder than most of us ever will. But do you think she sits there forcing herself to write songs, plan business strategies, and negotiate deals? No. She has trained her brain to crave productivity and wealth creation. The same dopamine hit you get from watching cat videos, she gets from building her empire. I was reading about her routine recently. Taylor has deliberately structured her life to make wealth building addictive. She surrounds herself with people who motivate and inspire her. She has created environments that trigger her creativity. She has systems that make productivity the path of least resistance. That is not discipline. That is addiction engineering. And before you say, but Duchess, she has always been famous. Let me remind you that she started as a teenage girl, with a dream and a guitar. She did not wait for success to find her. She built habits that made success inevitable, and those habits became so ingrained that they are now automatic. That is what addiction to success looks like. Look at those finance bros in Manhattan. They are not inherently different from you. They have simply conditioned their brains to get excited about market movements. And now they cannot stop. That is the addiction you want. The kind that makes your bank account swell instead of your waistline after a pint of ice cream. Those Wall Street types who wake at 5 a.m. to check the Asian markets, they are not suffering. They are feeding their addiction to financial success. They get genuinely excited about earnings reports the way some people get excited about celebrity gossip. Their palms sweat when they make a successful trade. The same physiological response you might have when finding the perfect item on sale. I have a friend who works at Goldman Sachs. Let me tell you something fascinating about him. He once told me that after years in finance, he physically cannot sleep past 5 a.m. on weekdays because his body craves the rush of those early market movements. His cortisol levels literally spike around that time automatically. That is not discipline. That is an addiction to success that his body has internalized. These finance people have created environments that make wealth building the default. Their phones notify them of market movements before social media updates. Their social circles discuss investments rather than reality TV. They have deliberately engineered their surroundings to feed their addiction to success. And guess what? You can do exactly the same thing. Here's a little secret from the wealthy circles I frequent. Rich people do not actually have more willpower than you. They have just redirected their addictive tendencies toward profitable endeavors. They are not resisting temptation. They have changed what tempts them. My last charity gala, the one where tickets cost more than your monthly rent, I sat next to the wife of a tech billionaire. Beautiful woman, impeccably dressed, obviously wealthy. Know what she talked about during dinner? Not gossip or celebrities or fashion. She spent 20 minutes explaining a new tax strategy that would save their family millions. And her eyes literally lit up while discussing it. She was genuinely excited about tax optimization the way some women get excited about shoe sales. That is the difference. The wealthy have programmed their brains to find pleasure in activities that build more wealth. These same people might check their investment accounts compulsively, the same way you check Instagram. They might read finance.
This is why someone as myself or you will be at work right? And you'll be at work and you'll be talking about fucking the company and the stocks in the company and apps where you can invest into stocks and all kind of shit. And everybody looking at you like you the weirdo. See what I'm saying? And see, I appreciate people like this because it's like it's eye opening. It's like it's two things that's going on inside of me. Okay. No one thing is attack me as much as I need to be attacked about my financials, how I'm doing my money, how I'm budgeting, how I'm not budgeting, right? Attack the fuck out of me, offend me, right? Then on top of that, uh, okay, cool. And then on top of that, I'm realizing that there are things that I have been doing in the wealth frequency. I'm like, okay, just need a little more push and direction. Like, okay. And so also as I listen to this, I'm like, yeah, I believe you. I believe that woman sat down and talked about a better way for taxes and to save on her taxes and get more money from her taxes. I fucking believe it. Because this is things I think about with the goddamn, what's that, the W-2 form? Yeah. How to get more money on my W-2 form and shit like that. Think about that. How to get more money, how to understand how taxes work to get more money on my taxes and shit like that. Yes, I do think about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is why I appreciate listening to this information.
Financial news obsessively, the same way you binge Netflix shows. The behavior pattern is identical. They have just redirected it toward wealth building rather than wealth draining activities. Another example, my friend who owns multiple businesses checks her sales numbers first thing every morning. Not because she is disciplined, but because she gets anxious if she does not know how her companies performed overnight. She has trained her brain to crave that information the same way you might crave your morning social media check. When I was poor, opening my banking app gave me anxiety. Now it gives me butterflies. I literally check it for fun between charity galas. That is what happens when you rewire your neural pathways to crave financial growth.
She's teaching you how to get the brain addicted to financial growth. That's what she's talking about. Get the brain addicted to financial growth. The same way you can binge watch a TV show, you can read about financials. I remember when I was reading the Forbes 400 and I learned about the businesses that was making it. And these are things I was actually talking about at work, like Bernard, the L brand. I go in when I talk about the L brand. I can give you the whole history of the L brand. I mean, I studied them hard and I watched what he did. I was like, he owns all like the Louis Vuitton watches. And if you don't know, you're welcome. The L brand, they started as people who made pieces for hospitals, like pieces to the breathing machine, equipment, stuff like that. The heart machine, because that's why it's called the L brand, because it's a long ass name which deals with the heart. And so it's been there since the late 1800s, and the family kept the family line going on. And what he did with it when Bernard, I can't never say his name right. He pretty much took it and he started investing into little other businesses. So he invested into he got a piece of the Louis Vuitton watches, Gucci pocketbooks. See what I'm saying? You have to study what they did. To me, one of the most genius business plans. Now, Paris Hilton's mom, she had to go hard to get her rights for the Hilton hotels. Yeah, that's what happened to her. The woman who owned Old Navy, she had to do the same kind of thing situation too, between her and her husband to get her rights as the owner of Old Navy. Little Caesars. Oh yeah, I read about like 7, 8 years ago. Little Caesars is like the top in the Forbes 400. Little Caesars and Old Navy, those two are like the top tippity top brands owned by women. Because I was on the women's side. Oprah was like number 10. Oh, but the Walmart family was in there, meaning the two sons and the daughter was there. I learned about why we have art supplies and books and romance books in the in Walmart. That's because of his daughter, who decided to pursue her life as an artist. She did not want to be into the Walmart business as her brothers. And I'm like, that's why we have all the art supplies and the romance books and all the good office supplies because of her. I remember Walmart didn't have all that stuff. That shit came later. So that's pretty dope. But the Force 400, I learned so much. Man, I was well on my way. It really was. But yeah, these are the kind of conversations you be having with people and their brains is not there with you, especially at work. You understand that there are some people who are viciously jealous of people who have material things. They're viciously jealous of people who are successful because they did not make successful choices in their lives. You know, and you gotta, and this is the part of what this is what I'm just all of this stuff we talking about now, because like they said, it's about your choices. It's about your choices in life and your mindset and how you talk about yourself, how you talk about your money, your relationship with your money, your relationship with yourself, it's all these things. And I'm just sitting here like, yo, I dead ass was like talking about that at work. All right, let's go.
I clearly remember that sick feeling in my stomach whenever I had to check my bank account. Would there be enough for rent? Had I overdrafted again? The anxiety was so bad that I would avoid.
Hold on, y'all. Yeah, instead of being grateful that we have the art supplies, co-workers would be talking about how bad Walmart is. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. In the city where I lived at, Walmart was in places that were not cheap. People had money. Like these were middle class families plus who shopped at Walmart. Like it's then being down here, you still have to travel to get to Walmart, but I noticed, you still got the ghetto twerkers and shit that could still make it in there. You know what I'm saying? As like them ghetto twerkers wouldn't have made it to the Walmarts that I live near.
Looking altogether, which only made my finances worse. Now checking my financial accounts is like opening presents on Christmas morning. Will my investments be up? Has that property appreciated? How much passive income rolled in while I was getting my beauty sleep? The difference is not my bank balance. It is my brain's association with financial activities. I deliberately created new neural pathways by pairing financial management with pleasure. I would only allow myself my favorite coffee while reviewing my accounts. I would only watch my guilty pleasure reality shows after spending 30 minutes on financial education. Slowly, my brain began to associate financial activities with positive feelings instead of anxiety. You can do the same thing. Start by removing the negative associations. Many of you avoid financial activities because they make you feel inadequate or anxious. Change the environment. Play your favorite music while reviewing your budget. Reward yourself after checking your accounts. Use beautiful tools.
Really, 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 really take this part in, y'all. Take this part in. I know it's scary. I know it is. It's okay if it's scary. But you know why it's scary? Because you're ready for that breakthrough. It's scary because you're ready to get through the hump of what you know is you already know the answer before you open it up. And you never know. It may not be as bad as you think it may not be as bad as you think it is. You see what I'm saying? And this is what I'm saying, that You have to get, I see the, hold on in the comment section. I see that I can feel it. Okay, I can feel it. It is okay to be afraid, but do it scared. Utilize this stuff, write this stuff down, sit down with yourself, apply it to your life. I'm so serious. Don't let it pass you by. And I believe this person. I usually be like, man, nah, this person is not, this person is a real deal. And they're really telling us stories, and they're really telling their stories. All right, let's go.
A gorgeous notebook for planning, an app with excellent design for tracking. Make the experience pleasurable and your brain will start to crave it. Start by creating tiny habits. Set a timer for just 15 minutes of focused financial education daily. Your brain will resist at first. It prefers the easy dopamine hit of social media.
Oh, hold
but
on.
After 2 weeks, you will start craving.
Excuse me to the comment section. Let me click you up here because I ain't trying to read you from here. Let's go. You're welcome about sharing the link. Don't know if I told you that earlier. Instead of being instead of being grateful, is that it? No, it's something else she wrote. Okay, here we go. I know I read that already. Things aren't perfect, but when I didn't have money, I was grateful for Walmart. The only reason why I don't have to shop there anymore is because I healed from poverty mindset. I mean, I don't think it's so interesting because I would like to know, where do wealthy people grocery shop? We about to look that up. Hold on, y'all. I'm curious now.
That learning time. After a month, you will feel uncomfortable if you miss it. Let me give you a practical starter plan. Week 1. Commit to just 5 minutes of financial education daily. That is it. 5 minutes of reading about investments, watching educational videos, preferably mine, of course, or reviewing your budget. Make it the same time each day, perhaps right after your morning coffee or just before your evening skincare routine. This creates a trigger for your brain. Week 2, increase to 10 minutes and add a small reward immediately after. Perhaps a piece of chocolate, a quick scroll through social media, or a few minutes of your favorite music. This pairs the financial activity with pleasure, helping your brain form positive associations. Week 3, bump it up to 15 minutes and start tracking your streak. Do not break the chain. Your brain loves consistency and gets satisfaction from seeing visual progress. Get one of those wall calendars and put a big red X on each day you complete your financial education. Your brain will start craving the satisfaction of marking that X. Week 4. Now add a social element. Join a financial education community. Find an accountability partner, or simply share something you have learned with a friend. The social validation adds another layer of reward for your brain. I used to be addicted to buying fake designer bags. Now I am addicted to buying dividend-paying stocks. Both give me a rush, but only one keeps giving me money long after the initial thrill is gone. Let us talk about shopping addiction, shall we? I know many of you watching have closets full of fast fashion and knockoff accessories. You buy these things for the momentary thrill, that rush of dopamine when you click purchase or carry the shopping bag out of the store. I get it. I was the same way. But here's the fundamental shift I made. I transferred that same addiction to purchasing assets instead of liabilities. Now I get the same rush from buying shares in luxury companies as I used to get from buying their products. The difference? One depleted my bank account, while the other builds it. This is not about denying yourself pleasure. It is about redirecting your pleasure-seeking toward activities that build wealth rather than drain it. I still experience the excitement of acquisition, but now I am acquiring assets that appreciate rather than depreciate. And here's the beautiful part. The rush lasts longer. When I would buy a fake designer bag, the thrill would fade within days as the poor quality became apparent. But when I buy shares in a solid company, I get little hits of pleasure every time they increase in value, every time they pay a dividend, every time they announce good news. It is the gift that keeps on giving. And please stop dating men who make you split the bill. Not because you need a man to pay for you, but because a man who nickel and dimes you on the first date will drain your energy and resources forever. Get addicted to high standards instead. I promise your brain will thank you when you are vacationing in Aspen instead of arguing over the electric bill. Do not be the woman putting water in her shampoo bottle to make it last longer while dating. A man who thinks Applebee's is fine dining. Seriously, what is that about? You should be with someone who elevates your financial thinking, not someone who drags you down to penny-pinching mediocrity. A man who makes you go Dutch on a first date is showing you exactly who he is. Someone who sees relationships as transactional rather than transformational. Let me tell you where to find wealthy men who are not afraid to invest in relationships. Charity galas, golf courses, polo matches, yacht clubs, and upscale hotel lobbies. You will never find your millionaire at happy hour specials or outside the subway. The men who will transform your financial future are not swiping right on dating apps. They are networking at events that cost money to attend. Let me elaborate on this point because it is crucial. I am not saying you should date a man just for his money. What I am saying is that you should evaluate potential partners based on their wealth mindset, not just their current bank balance. A man who insists on splitting a $5 coffee on the first date is showing you his scarcity mindset. He is revealing that he views money as something to hoard rather than as a tool for creating experiences and building a future. Is that really the financial partnership you want? I remember dating a guy before I met Mr. Millionaire. He drove a fancy car but insisted on using coupons at restaurants and calculating exactly what each person owed down to the penny. Know what happened? That same penny-pinching mentality seeped into every aspect of our relationship. He would keep score of who paid for what, who owed whom, constantly calculating rather than connecting. Exhausting. Now my husband, Mr. Millionaire, was different from the start. On our first date, he did not just pay for dinner. He sent a car to pick me up, had flowers waiting at the table, and never once mentioned the cost of anything. Not because he was trying to impress me with money, but because he understood that memorable experiences are worth investing in. When you are vacationing in Aspen instead of arguing over the electric bill. The women in my social circle, the ones with generational wealth and multiple homes, they all understand this principle. They have trained their brains to get more pleasure from growing their empires than from watching reality TV. The dopamine hit they get from a successful investment makes scrolling through Instagram feel like eating plain toast. I have this friend, let us call her Victoria, who inherited millions but has tripled her net worth through her own investments. She confessed to me over brunch at the St. Regis that she gets physically excited when analyzing investment opportunities. It is better than shopping, she told me, because the pleasure never stops. When I buy a dress, the thrill fades. When I buy a promising stock, I get endorphins every time it goes up. These wealthy women have created what neuroscientists call reward loops around financial activities. They have trained their brains to release dopamine, that feel-good chemical, when they engage in wealth-building behaviors. And once those neural pathways are established, they do not need willpower to stick with good financial habits. Their brains literally crave these activities. Another friend in my circle was actually a former shopping addict. She would blow thousands at Bergdorf Goss every weekend. Her therapist suggested she redirect that addiction toward something more productive. Now she is obsessed with real estate investments. She still gets to shop, but for properties that generate income rather than clothes that depreciate the moment she wears them. When you understand that your brain gets addicted to whatever you repeat, you realize you have a superpower. You can literally program yourself for wealth. It takes time, but your neural pathways will restructure themselves around your new habits. Let me explain how this works physiologically. Every time you repeat a behavior, your brain creates and strengthens neural pathways, physical connections between neurons. The more you repeat the behavior, the stronger those pathways become. Eventually, these behaviors require almost no conscious effort. They become automatic. This is why you do not have to think about checking Instagram when you wake up. Your hand reaches for your phone automatically. Your brain has created such strong neural pathways around this behavior that it happens without conscious thought. Now imagine if your brain had equally strong neural pathways around checking your investment accounts, reading financial news, or working on your side business. You would do these things automatically. No willpower required. The neuroscience of habit formation gives us a 4-step process: cue, craving, response, reward. Currently, your cue might be boredom, your craving is entertainment, your response is scrolling social media, and your reward is momentary distraction. What if we rewired this? Your cue could still be boredom, but your craving becomes growth. Your response is reading about investments, and your reward is learning something valuable, plus perhaps a small treat to reinforce the behavior. I used to spend hours comparing myself to celebrities online. Now I spend that time comparing investment opportunities. Both activities trigger the same parts of my brain, but one leaves me depressed and broke, while the other makes me rich and empowered. Let me be totally honest with you. I still spend time looking at beautiful things and successful people. I have not suddenly become some boring finance robot who only cares about spreadsheets. The difference is where I direct that comparative energy. Instead of scrolling through Instagram comparing my body to supermodels or my vacations to influencers, I compare investment opportunities. I analyze different stocks, real estate markets, and business ventures. I still get that comparative fix, but it builds my wealth rather than destroying my self-esteem. This is what I mean by addiction transfer. You do not have to fight your basic psychological drives. You just redirect them. If you have a competitive streak, redirect it from competing over looks to competing over investment returns. If you love shopping, start shopping for undervalued stocks or real estate deals. I have a friend who is obsessed with fashion, blogs. She spent hours cataloging outfits and following trends. When she decided to build wealth, she did not try to eliminate this detail-oriented behavior. Instead, she transferred it to researching investment trends with the same meticulous attention. Now she has one of the most impressive stock portfolios I have ever seen, because she applies the same obsessive attention to market movements that she used to apply to hemline trends. Even my morning routine has become an addiction. I crave my 5 minutes of financial planning the way I used to crave hitting the snooze button. If I miss it, I feel off all day. That is the kind of healthy addiction that separates the wealthy from the wishful. Let me walk you through my morning wealth addiction. I wake up and immediately resist the urge to check social media. Instead, I check my investment accounts and any financial news alerts that came in overnight. This takes just 2 minutes, but it frames my day with a wealth mindset rather than a consumption mindset. Next, I spend 3 minutes writing down my financial goals and one specific action I will take today to move closer to them. Sometimes it is as simple as research one new investment opportunity or read one article about tax optimization. The point is not how ambitious the action is. It is the consistency of focusing on wealth first thing each morning. I then review my calendar and prioritize activities that build wealth or valuable skills. This ensures that my most important tasks, the ones that actually create financial growth, get my best energy.
All right, we're going to get down to one more. I see something here that I want to click on. So let's go ahead and do a little review. We on part 4 already. So let's go ahead and jump on a little review before we get to the next video. Why are these type of videos why are these videos kind of ignored? Why are these type of money videos and shit ignored? Because we're not given principles. We're given hope. We're given dreams and imagination. And then we get some chump change and we be happy about that shit. And then we're supposed to be grateful for the chump change that, manifested after we did all that, mantras and shit. When in all reality, we should be studying laws and principles and facing the facts of what it is to be poor and broke. And we understand, the laws, the first law is words. We gotta watch our words. But we gotta call it what it is. That was something I was not ready to face. So someone was like, we're poor. We're fucking poor, bro. I'm like, what? No, we're not. Wasn't ready to face that fucking reality. So now, facing that you may have, I have them, poor motherfucking habits. At least you're trying. At least if you see that you do have rich habits, but your rich habits may make you feel like you have poor habits, but then the poor habits is making you feel rich. See how funny? See how the brain is flipped? It's like, I thought this was poor habits, but these are actually rich habits by wanting to invest into a stock, by wanting to taking my time into a stock, by investing to a Bitcoin, by taking whatever rollover money I have and putting it in the fucking this account here. You know what I'm saying? By taking by taking all my money and it's splitting the money up, percentage here, percent. I thought this was poor habits. I thought this was scarcity. But no, that's rich habits. But you get what I'm saying? So now, I have that awakening. And what the hell has society done that it made me feel like what I thought were poor habits were rich habits, but then I do have poor habits because of ordering out and spending money at work for eating and making that my weekly, like all this shit. And I had to say, wait a minute, this is all poor habits. This is all habits of poor behavior. So now I have to step it up a little bit more. And now we have to face it again, get into the relationship with money, name the money, go back to money frequency, the first one. Get back into that frequency because we about to replay it. We about to go into part 5. In part 5, we're going to jump back again to naming your money, right? And then from that, the laws of money. Then from that, we're going to get back in the Florence Shin about these laws of money, right? So I'm going to go ahead and play this, and then we're going to get back to Shin in the next videos. Let's go.
You think you need a fat bank?
How to feel rich even without a cent in the bank. All right, we're going to close it out with this one. Here we go.
Account to feel like royalty? Honey, I am about to shatter that sad little delusion of yours. I am Duchess Dollars. And trust me, I have mastered both having money and feeling like I have money. They are two different skills, and today I am going to teach you the second one, because the first one, well, that is going to take longer. Do not worry though. I still plan to help you get actually rich in future videos. After all, feeling rich is just step 1. But let me tell you something that might shock you. Some of the wealthiest people I know still feel poor on the inside. They have the Bentley, but look at it like it is a Honda Civic. Meanwhile, I've seen women walk into a room with nothing but confidence and suddenly everyone thinks they own the place. Listen, when I met Mr. Millionaire, he did not fall for me just because I was pretty. Though let us be honest, this face that looks 20 at 35 certainly did not hurt. No, he fell for me because I carried myself like I already belonged in his world. I did not act desperate. I did not act impressed. I acted like his wealth was the minimum requirement for my attention. And guess what? It worked. The truth is, wealth is as much about perception as it is about your bank statement. And today, I am going to show you how to create that perception for yourself first. Because if you do not believe you deserve wealth, why would anyone else invest in you? You see, most women make this critical mistake. They wait to feel rich until they actually are rich. But that is backwards, darling. The universe does not give you what you want. It gives you what you are. So you need to become the rich woman in your mind before you become one in reality. Now, do not get me wrong. I am not saying you should max out your credit cards buying fake designer bags. Please, there is nothing more tragic than pretending to be rich while drowning in debt. That is not what we do here. We are about actual wealth creation, not just the appearance of it. What I am talking about is the rich mindset, the confidence, the standards, the way you move through the world that makes people wonder, who is she? You know what the biggest difference is between rich people and poor people? Rich people make decisions from abundance. Poor people make decisions from scarcity. And you can start making abundance decisions today without spending a single dollar. Let me tell you a little secret. Before I met Mr. Millionaire, I was not exactly swimming in cash, but I never ever positioned myself as the poor girl desperate for a chance. I positioned myself as the prize that he needed to win. And darling, that made all the difference. So here are my 7 Duchess approved ways to feel rich even when your bank account is telling a different story. First, upgrade your language. Rich people do not say, I cannot afford that. They say, that is not a priority for me right now. Or, I am investing.
I don't want to name drop. I met somebody who was in the 3430. That means these are people who were worth 30 million. I think it's supposed to be like 30 million before they're 30 years old, right? And I met her. And I was like, who's the mean one, right? And she was like, well, I wouldn't use the word mean, but I'll say aggressive. And then one time it was another woman who they were well, husband now, but basically, her husband is a DJ who worked for Beyonce. And I remember I had said something about, I forgot what I was talking about. I don't remember what I had asked. And then she was like, "Well, it's it's uh it's normal to be insecure. Sometimes there's things that I get insecure about, but I get over it. Blah 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 blah." Right? And I was like, "Well, okay." So I say all that to say that people of a certain caliber, they do talk a certain type of way. They're very spiritual, and they're very big about their wordage and how words are used and how words are said. Like, they're very big about that.
Investing my resources elsewhere. See the difference? One sounds broke, the other sounds like a choice. Start making choices instead of admitting limitations. I remember watching this fascinating documentary about the psychology of wealth, where they found that wealthy individuals consistently used language that emphasized agency and choice rather than victimhood. The researchers concluded that this language pattern actually helped create wealth-building behaviors. Fascinating, right? When my friend asked me last week if I wanted to join her new expensive mastermind program, I did not say, "I cannot afford that right now." Instead, I said, "I am currently allocating my resources toward my investment portfolio this quarter." Same outcome, completely different energy. One positions me as broke, the other positions me as strategic. Second, curate your environment. You do not need a mansion to create a space that feels luxurious. One beautiful vase, one quality candle, one corner of your home that looks editorial. That is enough to start. Declutter everything else. Rich people value space more than stuff. Marie Kondo became a multimillionaire by teaching people to own less. Think about that. Now here is something they will not tell you. Rich people are obsessed with keeping things clean and organized. A 2018 study published in the Journal of Consumer Psychology actually found that people who maintain orderly spaces feel more in control of their lives and make better financial decisions. So start treating your studio apartment like it is a suite at the Ritz-Carlton. I have a friend who lives in a tiny New York apartment, but she keeps fresh flowers on her table, uses real linen napkins, and has one gorgeous vintage mirror that makes the space feel twice as big. When you walk in, you do not think small apartment. You think curated space. That is the difference between a poor mindset and a rich mindset. Third, be selective with your time like you would be if you were wealthy. Poor people say yes to everything because they are afraid opportunities will not come again. Rich people say no to almost everything because they value their time more than money. Start saying no to energy-draining activities and people. Your time is your most valuable asset until you have actual assets. I cannot tell you how many gatherings and events I skip because they are not worth my precious time. And do you know what? People respect you more when you are not always available. It is basic economics. Scarcity creates value. Let me give you an example. My neighbor invited me to a potluck dinner last month. Now, in my poor days, I would have said yes immediately, thinking, free food. But now, I looked at my calendar and thought, is this the best use of my Thursday evening? Will these people add value to my life? Will this advance my goals? The answer was no, so I declined politely. That evening, I used that time to research investment opportunities instead. That is rich thinking. Fourth, invest in one quality item rather than 10 cheap ones. Rich people buy less but better. I would rather see you in one perfectly tailored blazer from a consignment shop than 10 ill-fitting fast fashion pieces. Quality over quantity is not just a saying, it is a wealth strategy. There was this fascinating study in 2019 that showed luxury consumers actually save money long-term because they buy fewer, better items that last longer. The researchers called it investment purchasing. I call it common sense. I remember in my pre-Duchess days, I would go to the mall and buy 5 cheap bags that would fall apart within months. Now I save for one quality piece that lasts for years. The total cost is actually the same, but the difference in how I feel when I carry that bag is immeasurable. And here is the secret. Quality items hold their value. Those cheap bags went in the trash. A quality bag can be resold if I ever want to upgrade. Fifth, develop a taste for luxury experiences without the luxury price tag. Did you know that you can sit in the lobby of a 5-star hotel, order one coffee, and work there. All day, you can walk into high-end stores and try on clothes with zero obligation to buy. You can tour luxury real estate open houses on weekends. These experiences cost nothing but give you a taste of the lifestyle you are manifesting. I used to spend Sunday afternoons touring multi-million-dollar properties in Beverly Hills. The realtors never questioned me because I dressed well and carried myself with confidence. I learned
Right.
so much about luxury finishes, architecture, and design just by observation. Now I apply those lessons to my own space, even though it is more modest. But visitors always comment on how expensive my home looks, because I trained my eye by studying the best. Sixth, adopt rich people habits that cost nothing. Wake up early, read books instead of scrolling social media. Exercise consistently, drink water, set goals and track them. Rich people have these disciplined routines not because they have money, but because these habits help create success. You know, Warren Buffett once said he reads 500 pages every day. 500! He said knowledge builds up like compound interest. And that man knows a thing or two about compound interest. You can start that habit today without spending a dime. Public libraries are free, darling. Did you know that according to a study by Thomas Corley, who spent 5 years researching the daily habits of self-made millionaires, 88% read at least 30 minutes per day? And these people are not reading romance novels. They are reading nonfiction books on personal development, biographies, history, and business. Start building your millionaire mind today with books that expand your thinking. Seventh, care for what you already own as if it were priceless. Rich people understand the value of maintenance. They service their vehicles regularly. They clean and protect their leather goods. They repair rather than replace. This not only makes what you have last longer, but trains you to value quality over disposability. I have a pair of leather boots that I have had resoled 3 times. They cost me $200 initially, but I have worn them for 6 years. Meanwhile, I have friends who buy $50 boots every winter and then throw them away in spring. Do the math. They have spent $300 on disposable footwear, while I still have my beautiful boots that look better with age. Now, let me tell you something that might shock you coming from me. The feeling of abundance has very little to do with what you own, and everything to do with your relationship to what you have. Some of the most miserable people I know have everything. Money can buy but still feel lacking. I was at this charity gala last month. Yes, rich people love a good tax write-off. And I overheard this conversation between 2 hedge fund wives comparing their summer homes. One was genuinely distressed that her Hamptons house only had 6 bedrooms while her friend had 8. Meanwhile, most Americans would consider either home an absolute dream. That is the scarcity mindset at work even among the wealthy. The truth is, feeling rich is about gratitude for what you have while still being ambitious for more. It is tricky to balance, but that sweet spot is where true wealth consciousness lives. Here is a little exercise I do every morning. I list 5 luxuries I already have in my life. Sometimes they are material things, like my Chanel puppy or my walk-in closet. But other times they are things money cannot buy. The freedom to set my own schedule, the ability to say no to things I do not want to do, or even just having time to enjoy my morning coffee in peace. Try it. I guarantee you have at least 5 luxuries in your life right now that someone else would consider the height of wealth. Perspective is everything, darling. And here is another mindset shift that wealthy people practice. They see money as a renewable resource, not a finite one. Poor people clutch their dollars tightly because they fear they will never get more. Rich people understand that money flows, it comes and goes. This allows them to spend on quality when appropriate without anxiety. Did you know that researchers at Harvard Business School found that wealthy individuals actually experience less stress when spending money than those with less means, even when the purchase represents the same percentage of their income?
All right, so
That is because they have trained themselves to see money as a tool, not as security. Now, I want to be very clear about something. Feeling rich is not the same as financial literacy. You still need to learn about investing, saving, and wealth building. All the mindset work in the world will not help if you do not understand how money actually works. That is why I am not just about the glamour on this channel. Yes, marrying rich is a fantastic shortcut. I am not going to pretend it is not. But even if you catch yourself a Mr. Millionaire tomorrow, you still need to know how to maintain and grow that wealth. Otherwise, you are just one divorce away from being back where you started. So yes, feel rich now. Act wealthy now. Carry yourself with the confidence of a woman who has her financial house in order, but also do the work to actually get there. Read books on financial independence. Learn about investing. Start a side hustle. Build something of your own. Because let me tell you something else. Having your own money hits different. There is nothing more powerful than knowing you chose to be with your rich husband because you wanted to, not because you needed to. That is the difference between a gold digger and a power couple. I remember when I made my first $100,000 from my own business. Yes, before I was Duchess Dollars, I had my own little empire brewing. Mr. Millionaire was so proud, not because of the amount, please, he spends that on a weekend in Aspen, but because he saw the fire in my eyes, the independence, the drive. Let me tell you, nothing is sexier to a successful man than a woman who does not need him financially. I had this friend, let us call her Broke Betty, who was constantly hunting for a rich husband. She spent all her money on looking the part, maxing out credit cards for designer clothes and expensive beauty treatments, but she never invested in her mind or skills. When she finally landed her doctor husband, she had nothing to talk about at dinner parties. 2 years later, he traded her in for his intelligent nurse who could actually hold a conversation. The moral of the story? Always. Develop your mind as much as your appearance. And here is a little inside information. Truly, wealthy men can spot a fake from a mile away. They did not get rich by being stupid. The women who successfully marry up are not just pretty faces. They add value beyond their looks. They are well-read, well-traveled, even if on a budget, and bring something unique to the table. Start cultivating those qualities now, regardless of your bank account. Did you know that a recent survey of male multimillionaires revealed that intelligence and independence ranked higher than physical beauty when choosing a long-term partner? Yes, looking good gets you in the door, but substance keeps you in the room. So here is your homework, darling. This week, I want you to identify one wealthy habit you can adopt that costs absolutely nothing. Maybe it is making your bed like you have a housekeeper. Maybe it is drinking your coffee from your one nice mug instead of a plastic cup. Maybe it is walking into rooms with your shoulders back and your chin up like you own the place. Whatever it is, commit to it for 7 days and watch how it changes not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. Because wealth starts in the mind long before it hits your bank account. And here's a second assignment. Start noticing what triggers feelings of scarcity for you. Is it scrolling through Instagram and seeing vacations you cannot afford? Is it walking past doors with items you cannot buy? Identify these triggers, create a wealth affirmation to counter each one. When you see that luxury vacation, post instead of thinking, I could never afford that. Try, I am building wealth to enjoy experiences like that soon. And remember this, every billionaire started somewhere. Jeff Bezos worked out of his garage. Sarah Blakely sold fax machines door to door before she invented Spanx. The difference between them and everyone else was not just hard work, but the absolute conviction that they deserved success. Did you know that Sophia Amoruso, the founder of Nasty Gal, started by selling vintage clothes on eBay while working as a security guard checking IDs? She went from dumpster diving for food to building a $100 million fashion empire. The common thread among self-made millionaires is not that they started with advantages, but that they refuse to see themselves as disadvantaged. So, start believing you deserve wealth now. Not when you get the promotion, not when you find the rich husband, not when you finally catch a break. Now. Because if there is one thing I know for sure, it is that the universe is not going to give you what you want until you truly believe you deserve it. And darling, you deserve everything. I would not waste my precious time on you if you did not. Last week, I was in Saks Fifth Avenue buying a new pair of sunglasses, and the woman next to me was agonizing over whether to purchase a similar pair. I overheard her say to her friend, I should not spend this much on sunglasses. Do you know what I wanted to tell her? Stop shooting on yourself. If you want the sunglasses, make a decision. Either say, these sunglasses are worth the investment to me, or these sunglasses are not my priority right now. But the wishy-washy poor mentality of, I should not, is exactly what keeps you feeling broke and undeserving. If you want more tips on how to think, act, and eventually become truly wealthy, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Each week, I am dropping these wealth bombs that my rich friends would charge you thousands of dollars to learn in their mastermind groups. And leave this video if you want to be rich. It tells the algorithm to show my content to more women who deserve to upgrade their lives. I have left links to some of my favorite luxury-inspired products in my pinned comment below. These are things that make me feel like the Duchess I am, even on days when I am just lounging at home. Let me leave you with one final thought. In the Bible, there is this powerful verse that says, "For whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance." Now, I am not saying you need to get religious, but there is wisdom here. The universe rewards those who operate from a mindset of having, not wanting. So start acting like you already have abundance. and watch how quickly abundance starts showing up in your life. Remember this: feel rich, be rich. The second follows the first. Dropped in the comments if this video resonated with you. Until next time, this is Duchess Dollars reminding you that poverty is a state of mind. And darling, that state is not where we reside. Have you ever sacrificed your precious time waking up at 5 a.m., practicing those positive affirmations in the
Hold
mirror,
on, y'all.
and
I know it's
drinking lemon water only to remain broke at the end of the month? Darling, you are doing everything wrong. I am Duchess Dollars, and today I will reveal the 18 habits that truly made me wealthy without having to break a sweat. Because sweating is something poor people do, not us. While other experts tell you to save on coffee, I am here to show you how to save energy. Yours, darling. Because working hard is for the poor. Rich people work with strategy. Remember that scene from Succession, where Logan Roy says, "Some people need to do the dirty work." He was not talking about us, honey. He was talking about those people who still split the bill on the first date. I always say, if you are splitting the bill, you are doing charity, darling. What is happening? Most people believe they need to work 80 hours a week, abandon their social life, and sacrifice their mental health to become rich. This is the kind of advice that keeps...
We already seen this one. There was one that she had where she talked about luxury. The luxury lifestyle is keeping everybody poor. I guess I wanted to get to that. Let me see. Five secret billionaire rules of thinking big, earning more, and never being. Okay. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to do part 5. Yes, yes. And the topic for part 5 is probably going to be, let me see. Laws of money. All right. Money frequency part 5 is going to be called Laws of Money, because we're going to get back to Florence again. We're going to recap from the beginning again. All right. So I'm going to end the stream. You already know how it go, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. And we're going to just pick it up from where we at. Why that sound like gangster music? It sound like gangster music. We ain't doing that. All right, y'all. So 2 minutes.